wasn't going to work.
We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write. Not that the Republicans will write, although I do think it's important for us to engage with them.
Speaker Mike Johnson is not even guaranteeing a vote on the ACA subsidies in the House. Yeah, Leader Thune promised the Democrats an ACA subsidy vote in the Senate in December in exchange for the votes to reopen the government. All Speaker Johnson is saying is he may or may not then put it up for a vote in the House, assuming it passes the Senate, which is up in the air. But he just doesn't want to get ahead of the Senate. Yeah, this just shows the 8 Democratic senators who cut this deal to open the government with Republicans essentially got nothing on the ACA, which was our key ask during the shutdown. Is even if the subsidies somehow pass the Senate, they will still need to pass the House and get signed by the president. And the likelihood of that is almost nada. Yeah, because guess what? Voters put Republicans in charge of all 3 chambers of government, and we have our own healthcare plan that says instead of continuing to subsidize a broken Obamacare system that floods money to insurance companies, let's send the money directly to the people instead in health savings accounts. Except that Republican healthcare plan isn't in writing. There's no bill. Y'all are still deliberating like you have been since Trump's first term, yet the subsidies expire Jan 1. So all we're saying is extend the subsidies for 1 year. Then during that year, you'll still have the majority until January after the midterms, of course. But in that year, we can negotiate other fixes. But for now, let's put a band-aid to avoid the crisis. Well, I think with pressure comes diamonds, and Republican senators are moving quick to put their House savings account idea into writing and hopefully get a vote on that in December. This is what democracy looks like. We're in charge. Obamacare has been a failure. Let us have our go to fix the healthcare system that empowers patients rather than enriching insurance companies. Well, the millions who are no longer uninsured because of the ACA would probably disagree on it being a failure, and I think healthcare is such an important issue that it shouldn't be rushed. We're the conservatives here. We're saying let's just maintain the status quo for a year and avoid the calamity on Jan 1 and negotiate longer-term solutions while we're at it. I think we're already in a healthcare affordability crisis. I don't know if we can take another year of the status quo. Well, it won't be the status quo on Jan 1 if the subsidies go away. Then the crisis will intensify. Then vote for our fix. Where's the bill? It's coming. I trust Santa to come more than that. Oh shit, then it's 100%. Really?
All right. And yeah, that's pretty much where we're at right now with the government shutdown, guys. And hey, yo, guys, we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to get into the full interview that Trump had on Fox News with Laura Ingraham, and then we're going to go ahead and get into a media analysis because, yeah, the Dems are not too happy with Chuck Schumer, and it's looking like Chuck's on his way out. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and double tap that screen and like the video, and let's get right into it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. My exclusive interview with President Trump in moments. But first, a Fox News alert. The Senate is set to vote on a deal to end the government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history at 41 days. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni is live from Capitol Hill. Aisha.
Hey, good evening to you, Laura. It has begun. Finally, after 41 days, the Senate is voting on the deal to end the government shutdown. It is a 8-vote series. We're on the second vote out of 8. So a few more amendments, a few more speeches to go until we finally get to final passage. And this is actually, funny enough, breakneck speed for the Senate. They are going to try to whiz through this in the next hour. So hopefully we will get to the final passage actually during your show, Laura. And Democrats across the country are watching this along with us, and they are enraged right now, and they're angry at Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer for allowing this to take place.
I mean, yes, because as the beautiful lady stated, they pretty much did it for no reason. I'm like, what did you guys get? You didn't even get the health care extended. You didn't even get the Obamacare healthcare subsidies extended. Well, and here's the wild part. The Republicans offered that in the first place. Then you said you wanted permanent. Now you guys got nothing, like I said on the last show, on the pinky promise that, hey, we'll discuss it. We'll discuss reforms, and we'll go ahead and pass it. And don't worry. We'll pass it before it ends in January, which I hope they do.
Without getting the one thing that they were fighting for all along, which is extending the Obamacare subsidies. Instead, Laura, they got a promise for a vote on extending those subsidies sometime later on in December. And that is why there is so much anger over it. Some Democrats are calling this deal a betrayal. Some are calling it a big mistake because it doesn't fix that issue. Now, there is no guarantee that this vote is going to pass in the Senate. The subsidy vote in December. There's no guarantee the House would ever take it up. And the centrists really are explaining their deal here by saying that there was no way out of this. They had no other option. The shutdown was a
Yeah, some of them, well, honestly, like guys like Fetterman pretty much just went along since the beginning. I mean, he was one of the 3 Democrats that they had since the beginning. And then others voted because their constituents was pretty much, kind of pulling their coattails, going like, you got government workers here, you got people on SNAP here. So, you think you can kind of break from the Dems and, open up the government, for your people, for your constituents.
Bad idea, a bad thing for the country, and they had to cave to Republicans. Watch.
It was our judgment after 6 weeks, going on 7 weeks of this shutdown, that path wasn't working.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
So some Democrats out there are very angry at Chuck Schumer. He didn't vote for this, but he didn't stop the caucus from voting for it either. And some are calling for his head, Laura. Senator Schumer, Rokana writes, is no longer effective in...
No, I'm be honest with you. They have every right to be mad at Chuck Schumer. I mean, one, they're kind of exposing that they use the American people as leverage, that this was all leverage for them. And they're mad because Schumer didn't hold strong. So... yeah, I'm glad we got that one out the way. But also, yeah, it wasn't effective. Like, why even rally the Democrats into this if it was going to fail like this? Why rally them in if you weren't even going to get the first thing on your list, which was Obama healthcare subsidies, and you couldn't even get the 1-year extension? Even when it was offered, you guys thought you could get more, and you effed that up.
Should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? And then on top of that, Rashida Tlaib also adding that he has failed to meet the moment. He's out of touch with the American people. The Democratic Party needs leaders who fight and deliver for working people, and Schumer should step down. Now, once this finally goes through the Senate and they vote on final passage, House Speaker Mike Johnson will recall the House. He'll give them about 36 hours to get back to the Hill. He's already told them to start their journeys back to the Hill now because of all those flight issues with cancellations and delays. And they're hoping to take this up in the House as early as Wednesday, get the government back open. Laura?
Aisha, thank you very much, and keep us posted throughout the hour. All right, just a short while ago, I sat down with President Trump right before the show for an exclusive interview at the White House. So we talked about, the shutdown, everything from Gavin Newsom to Brandon Johnson, what was happening on the East Wing and what Melania thought about it. But we started, of course, with the Schumer shutdown. Sir, what lessons do you think the Democrats should learn from this shutdown saga?
Well, the country loses a lot of money when they do this, and they're not getting much, but nobody gets a lot. But it's terrible. What they really wanted was $1.5 trillion for people that came in illegally, people that came in through and out of prisons. We had like Venezuela, they emptied, they dumped their prisons.
They said that was all exaggerated by you.
Yeah, I know it's exaggerated. They wanted $1.5 trillion for health care from people that were, in some cases, 11,888 exactly murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. So they came in to our...
Now, what they fully wanted was they wanted to reverse the cuts in the big, beautiful bill. I mean, they wanted to reverse the Medicaid cuts and also funding to NPR and PBS and all that good stuff. So, and some of the Doge cuts as well. So that's where we're getting that 1.5 trillion from. But also they wanted that extension of the Obama healthcare subsidies, and the Republicans offered it. They offered a 1-year extension, but like I said, the Dems kind of, I guess they overreached, and they said no, we want it permanent. And then the Republicans told them hell no. And guess what? Here we are with them getting nothing at all. But hey, they opened up the government though.
Country, they poured,
after dragging the American people out for 40 days and 40 nights
into our country, and they want to take care. And we're trying to get them out because we don't want 11,000 murderers in our country. You don't want it. Nobody wants it. And we have drug dealers and we have everything else that they want to make sure they get good health care. That's not what our country's about. And it would have hurt other people's health care.
On Obamacare, you raised several times during this shutdown debate that it's clear that this was never...
Hey, and shout out to my man Kingen. He's been going off with the jewels right now. Like, hey, my man made a list. I'm going to see him. I'm going to go ahead and try to count that one up.
going to work without these massive subsidies. Now they wanted to continue the COVID subsidies. So given the fact that Obamacare really can't survive as they thought without these subsidies, what next?
Well, I watched Obama from when this thing came about. As you know, I opposed it very strongly. Unfortunately, we had a couple of negative votes, which should never have happened. But I said it's going to be a disaster, and I was exactly right. The premiums have gone up like rocket ships, and I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about for years they've been going up. And he said premiums will go down, everything will be wonderful. It's horrible health insurance at a very high price. And what I want, and probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good.
I mean, here's the thing with Obamacare. I mean, you'll get your health insurance. The problem is those healthcare premiums has been steady going up. And, well, healthcare corporation, the pharmaceutical companies have only seen bigger profits and bigger gains in their, well, stock portfolio or just their stock overall. So, yeah, Obamacare is not really benefiting the people, but it sure as hell is benefiting, you know, the billionaires that the Democrats say they hate so much. It sure as hell is benefiting them. I'll tell you that right now.
Insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump care, call it whatever you want to call it, but anything but Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster, just like he was as a president.
How do Republicans avoid this shutdown saga from reoccurring on January 30th when this deal ends?
Well, we're trying to put in a bill, as you know, the bill or a bill, that you can never do that again. You can't just shut down the government because you're trying to renegotiate a deal that you didn't. Don't forget, when we passed the great big beautiful bill, which gives you tremendous middle income tax benefits and it gives so much to everybody. Think of it. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax, very importantly, on overtime. If you work overtime, you don't have to pay tax. So many other things. It gives you a deduction if you buy a car, you borrow money, you put a loan on a car. You're allowed to deduct the interest. That's never happened in our country before. You know, that's always been for the richer people. They're allowed to take deductions. Now you can deduct interest on a car. So we have tremendous goodies in there. You know, they like to try and disparage it. Oh, it's the greatest bill ever passed in the history of our country. That's why we did it all in one. It's 4 years worth of goodies, and it's largely for jobs and for the middle class and for security.
But the Democrats clearly wanted to renegotiate this and hold the country hostage, did it not?
Yeah, they wanted to renegotiate mostly Medicaid cuts. Medicaid cuts and the Obama healthcare subsidies, which, like I said, they did not get neither. And yes, as far as Trump's big, beautiful bill goes, it does provide a lot of tax benefits for both the rich and middle class and the poor as well. So for you guys that want to cry about tax breaks for the rich, hey, you got them too, okay? So stop crying about it.
They didn't get what they wanted in the great big beautiful bill. And so what they tried to do is renegotiate it at a time where they hold the country hostage.
One of the big problems for the country I encountered on Saturday coming back from Florida to D.C. with the airports. So hours delayed, thousands of flight cancellations that are continuing this week.
Yeah.
You put out a Truth Social post earlier today.
I did.
Where you blasted the air traffic controllers who had not shown up for work and offered potentially a bonus of $10,000 for those who have worked despite the shutdown. Are you worried that given the fact that we have a deficit of air traffic controllers still, I know we're trying to change that, that might be a difficult
No, we don't
position?
have much of a deficit, and we have a lot of people want the job. But I was not.
Oh, guys, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in on conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support.
Happy when I saw all these people. Oh, we have to look. Life is not so easy for anybody. Our country's never done better. We should not have had people leaving their jobs. And what I basically did is say the ones that stayed, of which there were a lot of them, I'm sending them a $10,000 bonus.
Where's that money coming from?
I don't know. I'll get it from someplace. I always get the money from someplace regardless. It doesn't matter. I do a lot of bonuses for people because it's really something that, it's like the American way when you think about it. So here's somebody that goes and shows up every single day. Some of them showed up early because they knew there was going to be a problem. Those people should be rewarded. Others We couldn't, we can't make it. We can't. You know, a lot of the people that showed up also had a second job. They took a second job temporarily, but they all know the money's coming, and the money was coming. So I want to reward the people that showed up without a lot of nonsense, without a lot of talk. They did their job, and in many cases, they worked longer hours to get us through this period.
When can we expect the flights to resume more or less on better schedules?
Well, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, in fact, on your show 2 nights ago, somebody said, you know, I just took a plane. I got better service than I got in the past. Now, maybe because a little bit fewer people are
there are
traveling.
a lot of delays now, sir.
But a lot of people, but a lot of people are getting through.
I mean, the way it's going right now, I mean, the duplicity of those airlines, man, the duplicity of them. So, yes, they're still allowing people to buy the tickets, pull up, and then drag them out, you know, delay until final cancellation instead of just telling you that you're canceled outright or just not even selling the ticket. But, you know, they can't do that. I mean, they just can't stop their sales. So they just rather drag out the consumer and, you know, make them kind of deal with it. I know, right? Imagine just buying it and imagine buying a plane ticket and the airline just knowing that they're going to drag you out for about 6 hours just to tell you that your flight canceled. I mean, damn, that's actually pretty tough. I would be in there just, you know,
emotional damage.
with a whole lot of emotional damage.
I think the people are going to start showing up. I was very strong on that truth. I said, now you get to work.
Did you remember the air traffic control firing of Reagan in 1983, I believe it was?
One of the highlights of his life. You want to know the truth? He fired them because they didn't show up to work, and he never let them come back.
The economy was listed as a top concern. I know you know this for voters in New Jersey, New York, Virginia. I know you've been all over the affordability issue today and for the last several months. Eggs, gas, a dinner cost for Thanksgiving way down. But other things, as you noted, have gone up. Beef, coffee, auto repairs. Is this a voter perception issue of the economy? Or is there more that needs to be done by Republicans on Capitol Hill or done in terms of policy?
More than anything else, it's a con job by the Democrats. They're saying, they just have to say, you know, they put out something, say today costs are up. They feed it to the anchors of ABC, CBS, and NBC, and a lot of other, and, you know, CNN, and et cetera. And it's like a standard. I'll never forget they had used a word like manufactured. Do you remember the word manufactured? It's a manufactured economy. Nobody uses that word. Every anchor broke through.
No, what they're doing is, honestly, they're still calling out the inflation, sadly. And it's the truth. Now, what is also true is that Trump has definitely brought down inflation from that 9% that Biden had it at. Right now, it's at 3%. We would like it at 2%, but it's at 3%. And here's the problem. We lost a lot of affordability under Biden, about $3,000 of affordability. We gained through the reduction of inflation about 12 to 1,800 back. We're still in the negative. Thus, inflation is still bringing up prices, but not as rapidly as they were under Biden. So there still is an unaffordability issue that's persisting right now, and Trump do need to get on top of it a little bit better. Now, you know, pressing him power to cut the rates. You know, he needs to start bragging more about these groundbreakings at the factories and data centers. He needs to start bragging about those and showing the American people that jobs are being brought back and you are working on affordability. And that 50-year mortgage, I don't know about that one. That might not have been a very good thing to promote, considering we already have a debt problem. I mean, let's be honest.
Manufactured, they do exactly what they say. It's such a rigged system. So are you ready? Costs are way down. Gasoline is going to be hitting $2 pretty soon, or around $2. Gasoline is at $2.70 now, and it was at $4.50 under Biden, under Sleepy Joe. When gasoline comes down, when energy comes down, and everybody agrees energy is down, we're drilled, you know, drill, baby, drill. We're going like wild. We produce more gasoline, oil and gas in the last month than we ever have before, by far. And we're going to also end up filling up the national strategic reserves, which were taken out by Biden in order to try and win an election. Didn't work out too well. They tapped in. That's supposed to be for war, for national emergency, not to get.
So are you saying that voters are
they're being fed a
misperceiving
con
how
job.
they feel, or?
So when I took over, you remember?
Because you said Biden did that too, because he was saying things were great, but
let's
things weren't
say
great.
it's synonymous, Biden and Kamala, you know, because you didn't know who the hell was campaigning. I mean, it got to a point. So I was up by 20 points on Biden or some crazy number. And they said, all right, let's get him out. We'll put a new one. This never happened to anybody. All of a sudden, I have somebody new. And they had the 6-week honeymoon, which was standard in the world of politics. You get a little honeymoon. And she had her little honeymoon, but then eventually people got to know her, too. And then they had the 60 Minutes catastrophe where they, changed her answer.
Housing costs are still out of reach. And another thing that your administration is trying to tackle, many Americans, the average age of first-time home buyers are now up to age 40, which is sad. The country you and I grew up in.
I inherited that. Look, you have to understand.
Right, but let me get to the question, though, because you're...
Yeah, like, come on. I mean, Trump, we do understand you inherited it, but there is some things you could be doing. I don't know, like increasing lumber supply, finding a way to stop making concrete so damn expensive, bringing down the cost of concrete, and then, creating an initiative to start building more houses, pull BlackRock to the side, shake them up and tell them stop buying so much damn houses, those things will work. I think that would work.
Housing director has proposed something that has enraged your MAGA friends, which is this 50-year mortgage idea. So a significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans.
Yeah, because Lord knows the bank going to make their money because they're going to take the damn home. But, I mean, are you going to be able to pay off that 50-year mortgage? Unless you're, like, I'm going to be real with you, unless that's going to be used for profit, and you're going to be renting it out. I mean, that's the only way I see it working, renting it out for maybe 50 years, or maybe you do the duplex finesse. But if you ain't doing that, and you trying to do this for the family, yeah, I'm not sure this is going to be the best thing for Americans.
To own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is you pay something less from 30. That some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. But the problem was that Biden did this. He increased the interest rates. And I have a lousy Fed person who's going to be gone in a few months, fortunately. I have a guy too late, Jerome Powell, we call him too late. He was too late in everything, except when it came to before the so-called Democrat election, which didn't work. But we're going to get interest rates down. But even with interest rates up, the economy is the strongest it's ever been. You asked me, just to go back to the beginning of your question, you talked about prices. We're down on energy. We're down on interest rate. Interest rates are down despite the Fed. Now, if we had a normal person at the Fed, would have really low interest rates, and we will soon have that. We'll have somebody that's...
And why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that?
I don't know that they are saying. I think polls are fake. We have the greatest economy.
Well, honestly, if I was Trump, I'd answer that a little bit better with, well, we're still digging ourselves out of a hole. I mean, we used to be deeper in the hole. We used to be 10 feet deep. Now we're 5 feet deep. I mean, hooray, we're closer to, digging ourselves out, but we're still in the hole. So that's the best way to explain what's going on right now with the economy and affordability. Well, honestly, not the economy. Economy is doing honestly well. Like, businesses are making money. The stock market is doing good. GDP went up 3%. So as far as the economy goes, we're not heading anywhere near towards a recession. But as affordability goes, yeah, we're still in the hole when it comes to that. And I mean, due to crazy inflation.
We've ever had. We have.
Is what it is.
We will have over $20 trillion come into our economy, and it's largely because of my election, but it's also largely because of tariffs. Even the tariff thing, it's such a disgrace. I'm watching them saying, well, no money would have to be paid back because it's not that much. It's trillions and trillions of dollars would have to be paid back.
If the Supreme Court rules against the tariffs.
It would be a disaster for our country. Now, will I do something? I'll figure something out because I do. That's what I do in life. I figure things out. But it's so... President Xi was willing to do the rare earth thing, that's magnets. Now, nobody knows what a magnet is. If you don't have a magnet, you don't make a car. You don't make a computer. You don't make televisions and radio.
And so what Trump is explaining is, well, he's trying to explain is China's plan to control rare earth mineral magnets around the world. So we get our magnets from other countries as well. Now, what China wanted to do was limit their exports and also make other countries limit their exports as well, thus sabotaging, well, honestly, our supply, which we'd have limited supply or less supply, which would drive up prices. And guess what? We wouldn't really know too much about it because it was all a secret plan. And the countries that China was sending these threatening letters to, well, some of them came up and spoke up. Otherwise, we'd have all just been blaming Trump's tariffs, right? Right.
And all the other things. You don't make anything. It's
So, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on a conversation by double tapping that screen.
30-year effort to monopolize a very important thing. Now, within 2 years, we'll have magnets, all the magnets we want, but we don't. Because of tariffs, I called. I said, listen, here's the story. You're going to play the magnet. I'm going to play the tariff on you. And for national security purposes, I raised the tariff by 100% over and above what they were paying, which was 55. So he was at 155%. Within 10 minutes, I got a call. We'd like to meet. And we settled it out. And we made a wonderful deal, great deal for our country. But we made a great deal. We would have had a closed country. We would have had a depression. The whole world would have had a depression.
Doesn't it show us that we're too dependent on China? It's not just on rare earths, sir. We're dependent on them for still pharmaceuticals, still key industrial components. The Journal did a huge piece, and they're fairly pro-China. But
and I mean, Trump is right. They are coming back because due to the fact that he put tariffs on for 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals, he put 100% tariff on chips and semiconductors, and just because of those two alone, that's bringing manufacturing back. I mean, I think there's another sector Pacific tariff he also put on, but it's skipping my mind. Well, actually, wait, steel, of course, about 55% on steel.
But a very
it's all coming back, Laura, because of tariffs. I'm charging them tariffs of 100% and 150% for pharmaceuticals. What's happening? The pharmaceutical companies are all back here building plants right now. That's part of the $20 trillion of money that's coming because of tariffs. And we're not dependent on China. We're dependent on having a smart president. If we have a smart...
And I like what Trump is saying, but that's the thing. He needs to start putting out dates. He needs dates, bro. We need states. We need you to start going out there. Yes, Trump, you need to go out there and break ground. Put that shovel in the dirt and be like, look, America, another factory. Yes, that's what you need to do. Because trust me, we can look this up, and you're right. They are breaking ground, but the average American is not really hearing about this unless they're watching me or something and I'm telling them, and we can go ahead and look through it. But 9 times out of 10, they're not going to find out until those places are hiring.
President, we're going to have no trouble. If we have a guy like we had last time, who was such an embarrassment, if we have stupid presidents, whether you have tariffs or don't have tariffs, it doesn't matter. If we didn't have tariffs, if I didn't have the power of the tariffs, right now we would have a country that wouldn't be making cars, wouldn't be making anything.
A new detailed report on CNN, of all places, documents China's expansion of 60% of its missile facilities. It's staggering, bigger than anyone had ever thought, more robust growth. And over the weekend, the new Japanese prime minister, who I know you like a lot, Kaiichi, called the Taiwan situation extremely severe in its phase, and that they may consider any move on Taiwan by China to be a national survival crisis.
Yes, because word on the global streets is that, Xi might be out of power. Yeah, so China's prime minister, or basically dictator Xi, yeah, he's out of power, and one of his generals took over. And I mean, also word on the global streets that might have been the same thing might be going on in Russia. So, hey, but we'll get into that later.
This is for Japan. Now, that gets better. A Chinese diplomat today said in a social media post that she, the prime minister of Japan, should be beheaded for her comments. These are not our friends, sir, are they, in China?
Well, a lot of our allies aren't our friends either, Laura. Our allies took advantage of us on trade more than China did.
Whoa. I don't know, Trump. I don't know about that. No. China's the worst actor. I mean, actually, China don't play fair with nobody. And but let's be real. I mean, the only people they play fair with is the people they got a 99-year lease on. So no, trust me, they're the worst. They're the worst actors that we got out there.
China took big advantage. I mean, we built because
we built their military.
We built their military. We built their whole thing. Their whole thing was, and by the way, if you remember, in my first term, I took in hundreds of billions of tariffs. I put tariffs on China very early. Then when we got hit with COVID, we fought that. We did a very good job, but that was COVID. It came from a certain place in China.
Right.
You remember?
Another great gift from China.
That was another little gift we got. But look, I get along great with President Xi. I get along great with China. But The only way you're going to get along well with China is you have to deal from a position of strength. We have tremendous strength because of tariffs. We have tremendous strength because of what I've done. I've rebuilt our military, and they have a lot of.
I mean, look, we do have strength over China due to tariffs because it exposed how much how dependent the Chinese economy is on American consumerism. That's what the tariffs exposed, because when we was hitting them with 100%, yeah, their factories was shutting down left and right. People, it was going, mass unemployment was happening. So China, they can't afford 100% tariff because they can't afford another stop in their shipments, because they overly depend on the United States to buy all of their products. I mean, about 30%, we make up 30% of their exports. And then they're even waning with the EU, and I think, well, UK, and that makes about 15%. So, yeah, they're not really doing too well with their biggest buyers. And us being number one, it only hurts their economy more.
Missiles, but we have a lot of missiles too. And they don't want to mess around with us, I can tell you that.
A lot of MAGA folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States. We have about 350,000 Chinese. One point during COVID, you were going to, push to, get them out, but that was pulled back. You've said as many as 600,000 Chinese students could come to the United States. Why, sir, is that a pro-MAGA position when so many American kids?
That is not a pro-MAGA position. You're pretty much saying, all right, well, those 600,000, I mean, if you're going into STEM, guess what? You're not getting hired because for some reason we're saying just let the Asians do it. And it's the message is low-key pissing me off. It's like, okay, so we can't do the low-skill job because we want the Mexicans to do it. We can't do the high-skill job because we want the Indians or the Asians to do it. So what the fuck are we supposed to do then? Of course you don't got an answer because you're too busy selling the American people out. But that's the problem, and that's why I honestly don't like that position that he's taking with this. It's like, bro, that's not America first and is not helping Americans. I honestly think Trump should just turn that around and be like, look, you better find another way to appease G, because that's not going to be it. Letting in Chinese spies, I mean students, is not it.
Kids want to go to school, and there are places not for them, and these universities are getting rich off Chinese money.
Sure. Never said about China, but we do have a lot of people coming in from China. We always have, China and other countries. We also have a massive system of colleges and universities. And if we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
Well, I think that's a big deal.
Are they fans
You would have the
of the United States?
Yeah, but you would have, as you know, historically, black colleges and universities would all be out of business. You would have a system of colleges and universities.
So we're dependent on China.
And like I said, let it burn then. If you're telling me that we're dependent on China to send in students to take jobs away from American citizens for our education, for our higher education system to succeed, let it fail. We need a new system anyway. That system, hey, universities bullshit. It don't really work like that unless you're going into STEM. And to be honest, the way this man is sounding is like, honestly, you might as well just throw the whole system away because it's all funded by foreign interests. So, I mean, what the hell are we even doing?
To keep our university system going?
But I think it's good to have, I actually think it's good to have outside countries. Look, I want to be able to get along with the world.
They're not the French. They're the Chinese. They spy on us. They steal our intellectual property.
What, do you think the French are better?
Yes. Like, bonjour. Yes, they're way better than those guys. I'm sorry. They are. And the French ain't too nice to us either, but they're way nicer to us than China. I know. Yes, Brigitte Macron's a man. But I'd rather be deal with Brigitte Macron than G.
Yeah.
I mean, really? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not so sure. We've had a lot of problems with the French where we get taxed very unfairly on our. And
yes, I know. I know the president of France is Emmanuel Macron, but hey, we like to make fun of his wife.
Technology where, they put 25% taxes on American products. Look, assuming everyone treats us badly, because that's the way I am, but we take in trillions of dollars from students. The students pay more than double when they come in from most foreign countries. I want to see our school system thrive, but at the same time, I know you and I.
bro, I mean, how's it gonna thrive? This is so crazy to hear. Like when he said this, I was just taken back because you're really telling me that what China is basically funding all of our schools, and if we don't let these Chinese students in, it just sinks. Yeah, just throw away the whole university then. I mean, we'll just go back to the training camps. Everybody's going back to trade school, guys, because apparently university is all foreign interest. Like it's all it's funded by the foreigners, and without it, it all fails, right? So no Harvard, no Yale, no Princeton without the Chinese and the Indians. It really? All right then, shit, let it burn, man, let it burn.
I disagree. We're never going to agree on it, but that's okay. And it's not that I want them, but I view it as a business. We have millions and millions of people. Also, I want to get along with countries if possible. You know, people are shocked. Remember, Hillary Clinton said, we'll be in a war. I stopped 8 wars in the last 9 months. I don't want to be in wars. If I am in a war, we're going to win the thing fast, and it'll be violent. But you know what? I don't want to be in wars. But one thing, you don't want to cut half of the people, half of the students from all over the world that are coming into our country, destroy our entire university and college system. I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't lose any.
And don't forget, MAGA was my idea.
Man, facts. I wouldn't. No, it wasn't your idea either, Trump. But yeah, I wouldn't lose no sleep about turning those guys around and telling them, you know what? If China's so great, stay over there. All right. And actually, you know what? How about this? We got a couple commie Chinese supporters on our side that just love China oh so much. You know what? Why don't we trade? And you know, we'll take some of y'all students. We'll trade for some of ours. Why not? Well, why not? Well, let's do a trade. But no. To be quite honest with you, I would not lose no sleep, and I don't think we should give any country that advantage over our higher education or our college system. It just does not make any sense, to be quite honest. I would literally rather our college just fall to the ground if it's all foreign interest and well, honestly, corporate interest as well. Hey, man, the endowments. It's all about the endowments. Not about tuition. It's about the endowments.
MAGA was nobody else's idea. I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else. And MAGA wants to see our country thrive.
Yes, with us building it. Yes, with us working the jobs, not the Chinese.
And coming up, Gavin Newsom, Chuck Schumer, Brandon Johnson. We hit all those issues, what President Trump really thinks about them, and much more. My exclusive interview in moments. Now, more of my exclusive interview with President Trump. Gavin Newsom had a message, sir, for his fellow Democrats after this shutdown deal.
Sounds like some of my colleagues and friends in the United States Senate, some of my Democratic colleagues just decided that we're playing by the old set of rules, not the new set of rules, and may have rolled over a little bit. Right now, we've got to hold the line because I think America will become unrecognizable in a year or two unless we fight back.
He wants to fight harder, and he thinks the Democrats aren't fighting hard enough against you and, of course, the Republicans. Gavin Newsom.
I mean, bro, we're tired of the Democrats doing this useless fighting. I mean, they dragged the American people for 40 days, and did not get a damn thing. I mean, they did all this crying with the no kings and all this good stuff. Nothing, no message really spread. They just got their feel-good situation. I mean, they won the little election of blue states, and we're just supposed to be oh so scared about that for some reason. But yeah, to be quite honest, the Dems, they're kind of losing ground with that one, and I think that they really just kept on the shutdown one to kind of hold together the base when it came to No Kings rally. Then they say, you know what? The No Kings rally turned out pretty well during the shutdown, and our base is still out there blaming the Republicans, even though we're the ones voting no. So let's run into the election and let's see what that does. And it actually helped out. It doubled their numbers in turnout in voting. Shoot, the governors got more votes than Kamala Harris. So yeah, it does seem like this is more of a political strategy on the backs of the American people.
I mean, I knew Gavin for 4 years. I got along great with him. But he's gone radical left, and, you know, he's building a train system from San Francisco to L.A. that's got about a 2,000 or 3,000% cost overrun. It's the worst thing I've never seen anything like it. I've seen cost overruns. I've never seen anything like that. if you take a look at what he's done. So they lost 25,000 houses. Do you know they haven't issued one building permit yet? So these people are trying to rebuild their houses.
Malibu.
But he did something. He did something even worse than that. He's now taking.
I mean, that's the problem with most Dems. Most Dems, effective talkers, very effective talkers. I mean, but truly ineffective leaders.
In a big section of Palisades or some area, and he's going to build low-income housing where they used to have luxury housing. He's going to put low-income housing in. His fire stuff is out of control. The forests are burning down all over the place. And honestly, I always liked him, but he's a horrible governor. He's a horrible governor. If he ran the country like that, we would have an absolutely gonzo country. This country would be gone. The fact is, if I weren't president, if Kamala got in, you wouldn't have, not only wouldn't you have $20 trillion coming in, you would have money leaving, and your welfare system. Take a look at some of the welfare things that we're talking about. They've doubled, tripled, and quadrupled since I left office.
SNAP benefits have
well, SNAP has gone from
high.
like 7 billion to many times 7 billion. And, you know, people keep talking about SNAP.
Right now it's about 8 to 9 billion. They added about 2 extra billion a month to SNAP.
But SNAP is supposed to be if you're down and out, you really, really have. That's what the purpose of it. People are getting, they walk in and they get it automatically. It's many times what it should be. It's disgraceful.
Can we change
You wouldn't
that?
have been able, I'll tell you what, this country would have been busted, 100% busted within 5 months into a new administration I didn't win.
Can we reform SNAP
Yeah,
and
I
these
think we
benefits
can
so they're
reform it.
used
I
for the
think I
people who really
should.
need them?
It's meant for people. And you know what it does is it really puts the country at jeopardy. People that need it have to get it. I'm all for it. But people that are able-bodied can do a job. They leave their job because they figure they can pick this up. It's easier. That's not the purpose of it.
So knives are out, it looks like, for Chuck Schumer. Ro Khanna is already calling for him to be replaced. What message do you have for Schumer tonight?
Well, I think he made a mistake in going too far.
Going too far, how?
Well, he just went too far. He thought he could break.
Yeah, he definitely went too far and he overplayed his hand. I mean, look, when he shut down the government, it was already a petty reason already. And the argument didn't really make too much sense. They were talking about, like, what was it? Obama healthcare subsidies that didn't end until December, and they're really closing down the government in September over this. It was like, all right, well, don't you think it's a bit too soon to bring this up? Don't you think we could have, kept the government open, let the people get their benefits, let the holidays persist, and then we could talk about this, healthcare reforms. But they didn't want healthcare reforms. They wanted to go with the status quo and to go ahead and funding these healthcare corporations and pharmaceutical companies. Why? Because it's Obamacare, and I guess Obamacare is their golden child, and they didn't want to give it up.
The Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or they're just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But, we have just great policy. We have good people. They have some good people, too. I know a lot of Democrats. They're not all crazy. They're not all. But you have some that are absolutely terrible. I look at this Crockett. This is a very low IQ person. And I look at somebody that comes from Somalia, where they don't have anything. They don't have police, they don't have military, they don't have anything. All they have is crime. And she comes in and tells us how to run our country. The Constitution says this, the Constitution. The whole thing is crazy. I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian. And it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
Chicago Mayor, your dear friend Brandon Johnson, is calling on the United Nations to investigate what he calls the abusive immigration crackdowns in the city by your ICE officers and so forth. The UN in Chicago?
The UN? Hold on. This guy went out the country to go snitch on Trump? Bro, what? That's crazy. This man does not want to follow the immigration policy. He doesn't want to allow ICE to do their job so bad that he's like, you know what? Nobody in America can stop Trump. So let's just go outside of America. Let's go to the United Nations. Really, bro? I ain't gonna lie, bro. That is pathetic. Like, oh my goodness. What the hell the UN gonna do? What they gonna do? Bro, come on. It's the UN. You think they're gonna do anything to us in America? Do anything to stop Trump? They're not even part of our government, to be honest.
What is your message to him?
Well, look, number one, he's got a 4% approval rating. You have people in Chicago, beautiful black women wearing a MAGA hat, red MAGA hat. Please come, Mr. Trump, President. They call me President. They call me Mr. They can call me whatever they want. Please come, President Trump. Please come to. They're begging us to come.
He's very relaxed in this interview, wasn't he? Coming up, more of our exclusive interview with President Trump. What did he really mean when he said that he wasn't sure he would get into heaven? Find out next. Back now with more of my exclusive sit-down with President Trump. He reacted to all the attacks on the ballroom construction. I also asked him a very important question about his faith. Michelle Obama had something to say about the ballroom and the new ballroom. During an event to promote her new book, she said, when we talk about the East Wing, it's the heart of the work. And to denigrate it, to tear it down, to pretend like it doesn't matter, it's a reflection of how you think of that role. Why is she wrong?
Well, first of all, the East Wing was a beautiful little tiny structure that was built many years ago that was renovated.
Oh, man. I swear to God. Oh, it was the First Lady's quarters. Yes, and now it's about to be a ballroom, a beautiful ballroom with works of arts and gold trims all over the place. This really looks nice with marble floors that are probably heated. I mean, you might as well go all the way out if it's the White House. But shout out to my man Jay. He's like, we fund the UN. What they gonna do? No, literally, Akeem Jeffries is gonna walk into the UN and like walk into the office, and the guy who's gonna turn around in his chair is gonna be Trump. Bro, we are the UN. The UN ain't shit without us. You're literally gonna snitch to us? Like, good luck, buddy. Good luck, because the UN can't stop America from doing not a damn thing. I mean, the UN could only help, I'm be real with you, every other country but America.
And expanded and disbanded and columns ripped out. And it had.
Well, hold on. Well, let me backtrack that a little bit. Every other country but other countries with nukes. Yeah, if you got a nuke, the UN can't bully you. But if you don't got nukes, then yeah, they on your ass.
Nothing to do with the original building. It was a poor, sad site.
Gotta be accurate with that.
And I could have built the ballroom around it, but it would not have been. We're building one of the greatest ballrooms in the world. By the way, zero money spent by the government, zero. The East Wing is being spent by private donors, and it's a $250, $300 million building. It's going to be the most beautiful anywhere in the world.
Oh, and shout out Jeff for starting us off. Appreciate the support, big dog.
It'll be a large, beautiful. You know, they had an event the other day. They could hold, with tables, they could hold 79 people. Now, if you have President Xi from China, or if you have some big state event, we have no place to have it. You
Not
know,
just regular people.
They put
just regular people invited.
Oh, guys, let's get those likes up by double tapping that screen and liking the video. Oh, yeah. And let's make sure we go ahead and on the horizontal screen. I forgot to tell y'all can just go ahead and like the video regularly. And if you've got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, $2 and up, I'm happy to read it out loud and engage with it. All right, guys, let's get right into it.
Obama wouldn't mind this. Mrs. Obama obviously wouldn't mind. They would put a tent on the lawn. It was a low section because that's the only section you have. So it was a low section. If it rained, you were sitting in 6 inches of water. It was a disaster. We're going to have the best ballroom anywhere in the world. And I built a lot of them. You know that. You know a lot of them. This will be one of the greatest ballrooms in the world.
There was a report that Melania didn't love this idea. Is that true?
She loved her little tiny office. But you know what? She's very smart. In about one day, if you would ask her now, she says it's great. But just so you understand, the East Wing sounds good, right? It sounds good. But the East Wing, that building was renovated 20 times, including adding a floor to the top, which was terrible. It was out of common brick, little tiny windows. It looked like hell. It had nothing to do with the original building. And I didn't want to sacrifice a great ballroom for an okay ballroom by leaving it right smack in the middle.
In October, you were asked about ending wars, and you talked about that, and you said, I don't think there's anything that's going to get me into heaven. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. A lot of Christians were sort of sad to hear that, because Christ came to forgive our sins, if you believe that as Christians, and they open heaven to all of us. So don't you believe that?
So the other day, the New York Times did a story and took that statement totally literally. When I made that statement, I was being funny, sarcastic. You know, it's bad for a politician to be sarcastic. I said, I'm never going to make it to heaven. The big old hands. I don't think I can make it. I don't think I qualify, you know, etc. I was kidding. I was having fun. I don't know if I will or not. I don't know. But the Times did a story, a little guy named Peter Baker, who is the sycophant to Obama. You know, he wrote the Obama book, like Obama was a good president. He was one of the worst. Biden was the worst. Obama was top 3 or 4. But think of this. I make this statement, and the Times has a front page. Donald Trump is now questioning his life and his this and his that. I said to a group of people, a large group, I said, I ain't
gonna lie, Trump set himself up for that one. I mean, like, come on, Trump. You know how the Dems think of you. They were like, you see, not even he believes he's going to heaven. How could you vote for a man who doesn't believe he's going to heaven? You're like, come on, Trump. You set the Dems up for that one.
I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm not so sure, but I'm going to fight to me, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I was having fun, and they made it like serious.
It was funny.
The thing I thought I learned, but I forgot about it, I guess, when I made this little, is you can't be sarcastic as a politician or have fun. But yes, I don't regret it. I don't regret it.
All right, coming up, our panel reacts to this interview I did with President Trump. Plus, we're going to give you a sneak peek of what President Trump showed me outside of the Oval Office. All right, in the wide-ranging interview I just conducted with President Trump, we discussed everything from Newsom's rise, China's chokehold on rare earths, and other things. Of course, the shutdown mania and what it did to Chuck Schumer. Hakeem Jeffries looks like he might be challenged from the left, too. Anyway, it turned into a spirited discussion about the hundreds of thousands of Chinese students entering the country. Now, we don't see eye to eye and everything, but he knows that I respect him and that I know he's going to do what it takes to protect American interests.
Nah, Ingram. Nah, I was with you, sis, on that one. No, you did very good work grilling his ass on that. Like, she was like, "What, you think the French is better?" She was like, "Yes, the French is better." I was weak. I was like, you know what? Hey, shout out. That was actually, I like how she held ground on that one.
They get along great with China, but the only way you're going to get along well with China is you have to deal from a position of strength. We have tremendous strength because of tariffs. We have tremendous strength because of what I've done. I've rebuilt our military, and they have a lot of missiles, but we have a lot of missiles too, and they don't want to mess around with us.
Here with the reaction of my sit-down with President Trump, Ned Ryan, American Majority founder and CEO, Alex Marlow, Breitbart editor-in-chief, and Raymond Arroyo, Fox News contributor, who was there for the interview and also in the Oval afterward. Ned, your biggest takeaway from tonight?
Two things. One, it was Trump that instilled the backbone into Republicans and did not let them cave. Again, we all know this was about two things: Schumer's terrible poll numbers, trying to avoid a challenge by AOC, and also the fact that Democrats were once again trying to launder American taxpayer dollars with $1.5 trillion in health care for illegals to empower themselves, keep them around, get them counted in the census, and also hopefully eventually try to figure out how to become voting members for Democrats. The other thing was the affordability issue. I thought that was a really good question.
I mean, yeah, Chuck Schumer admitted to that already. I mean, he already admitted to saying that, you know, we need to find a way for these 11 million undocumented immigrants to become citizens. You know, the dreamers and the workers and the asylum seekers, you know, all that other bullshit that they was talking about.
And you asked, is it voter perception or is there more to do? And I think it's both. Laura, I think the Trump economy is really starting to ramp up. GDP might be 4% in the fourth quarter. Inflation 2.7 to 2.9. Trump's increasing 1 million barrels of oil a day. So it's going to drive down energy costs, which drives down grocery prices, which also drives down product prices. But I think they need to do more. I think there's more to be done by Republicans and Trump. First of all, they have to compare.
Yeah, I agree with him. I mean, we need more barrels. We need more plants opening up. I mean, he needs to focus more on the homeland and start trying to, I don't know, if he can, try to expedite the process.
To the Biden economy, but
because I mean, we do understand that, yeah, it's going to take about a year or two for these jobs to come all the way back. It's going to take about a year or two probably to see any real results on affordability, since it was a 4-year problem. So we understand that, but he's going to have to show us some things that he's doing to make it better. If not, then there will most likely lose the midterms. That and their relentless support for Israel. I mean, that's also going to screw the Republican Party as well.
So more deregulation, more tax cuts, a lot of things. So I think it's both. So I was really fascinated by that topic.
Yeah, Alex, the president said he's working to make sure Dems don't shut the government down again. Watch this.
But we're trying to put in a bill, as you know, the bill or a bill, that you can never do that again. You can't just shut down the government because you're trying to renegotiate a deal that you didn't.
Alex, the Democrats lost this gamble. It was a bad gamble. Your reaction to the president tonight?
Yeah, Jean Shaheen said, Democrat who was one of those who caved today, that she said she voted to open the government to end the suffering. So, well, what changed, Senator? It was your vote changed. You decided you would open it up. So you're basically admitting the whole Democrat Party were the ones behind the suffering. Terrific interview, Laura. No softball there. You really got the president to open up on a lot of things. I'll give you highlight, low light in between. Highlight for me was the last question. I've been thinking a lot as a Catholic and a Christian about Trump saying he's not going to make heaven. Of all the good he's done to give the greatest country on earth that God ever created a fighting chance, I feel like what bad could he have possibly done in his past that he wouldn't make heaven? I was glad to hear him talk about that. I feel comforted from it. Low light for me is the China stuff. I don't think the American universities need to be importing a bunch of Chinese students. I take it that's not literal, that this is negotiation. But that was, of course, not an answer as America First guy I would give. The one that I'm looking at down the road, though, is Ned's point. The affordability issue is not enough just to say the economy is doing well. I want to see some better messaging out of all Republicans and conservatives on this particular topic. That's why we lost last week, and we need to start messaging better. The Democrats are the reason why this country's unaffordable for so many.
Yeah, Raymond, the president was frustrated by, I think, the Republicans' failure to message this economy and stop complaining about the Democrats and start talking about how great things are getting. And it takes time. He said this. He's only been in office 10 months.
Well, but his own people, Sean Duffy, Scott Bessent, they went out and they rang the alarm and said, guys, if we don't open up this government, the planes are going to be canceled. Your holiday plans are over. And Bessent was saying your holidays are going to be smashed. Things won't make it into the country. They put the pressure on. It's a pity that other Republicans across the caucus didn't do the same.
Including about the overall economy, because that affordability issue, which the Angle warned about last March, the Angle started warning about that because they were going to try to pretend that Joe Biden didn't cause this. But nevertheless, President Trump is president now, and he's saying, look, we've done this, we've done. That's what a president should do. You don't want him to say, oh, the malaise is in the country. It's not.
I got to tell you, sitting in the room.
I mean, and that is the wild things that the Dems are doing. You know what? It's a great political strategy. I mean, they know that they made unaffordability terrible under Biden. They know what they did. They know it was wrong. But guess what? They're going to harp on it as if they're not the reason why we're going through this for the next about, I don't know, year and a half until midterms. That's the strategy, to get mad about, well, the affordable crisis, the affordability crisis that they created. And Trump has only had 10 months in, but let's not forget that they had 4 years in office to at least cut spending to where it wouldn't be that bad, or work out some type of policy that would help the American people. And how did that work out, Dems? I mean, how did that work out? Because, man, 5% inflation is crazy. But shout out to BTK. He said, Fed's government was for, he said Fed government was for war, State Department and Commerce was added social programs, but that could be a state responsibility. All else should go to the states. I mean, hey, if you're saying that we should send on the social programs back to the state, I agree. I can get down with that. The problem is, though, is that once you try to start threatening people's Social Security, that's still a voting block. I mean, hey, people vote with selfish intentions. It is what it is. I mean, you can't sit there and tell the old people, like, look, man, to balance the budget, y'all might have to lose some Social Security. Like, they ain't trying to hear that. But, and I mean, for the states to take it on, I mean, they're not trying to do that either.
I'm watching this. When he came in, the president was relaxed.
Yeah, have you seen him that way before?
Not only did you get him to relax and open up, there was a little sparring, but it was in the family, didn't get nasty. I like that you challenged him. I like that he calmly said, no, Laura, we're not going to agree, but, and then he made his case. There was an affability about him and a real optimism. He said something during the interview. He said, I like to figure things out. That's what I do in life.
Yeah, so
I thought that's really the motto of the whole administration.
Yeah, Ned, that's the point. If the court strikes down the tariffs, he said, like, it's a disaster, but I'll figure it out because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. He will, but I also think he's got very firm footing with the Trade Act from 1962 and 1974. There are multiple sections in both of those trade acts that give the president the right to do tariffs, to explore and deal with unfair trade practices, which again is what Trump is trying to do. So if for some reason SCOTUS...
And like, guys, hold on now. There's some guys in the chat that are a bit delusional, because if you cannot sit there and admit that the affordability crisis is because of Biden's crazy inflation, and you just want to pretend like that has nothing to do with why prices are still rising now, is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Like, this is why I say it's so easy to be a Dem, because your base don't hold you accountable whatsoever.
Strikes us down, and I kind of think they're going to be a bit more nuanced than taking away his ability across the board. He'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. He'll find a way. Again, it's one of those things that we cannot underestimate. It is central to his economic plan, and I would remind people yet again, the CBO, which is not a fan of Trump's, even they said tariffs can and will cut $4 trillion from the federal deficit over the next decade. It's an important piece for us reducing the national debt. So I sincerely hope SCOTUS makes the right decision on it.
Yeah, and Alex, I mean, we have to know that the Senate, for the most part, doesn't want the tariffs. They're not for the tariffs. So Trump he's dealing with a Republican Party that's not all MAGA. It's not all pro-tariffs. Everyone knows I love the tariffs. But they don't like the tariffs. They're getting heat from businesses about them, suppliers, getting component parts more expensive, et cetera, et cetera. But Trump is dedicated to this agenda, and it is paying off. But it's going to take a little bit of time. Next year, he thinks the economy, the first half of the economy especially, is going to go gangbusters. And a lot of other people agree with him on that.
Laura, this is sort of...
I mean, they're still trying to say that tariffs is inflationary and they're passed straight down to the consumer, when, depending on the industry and depending on the saturation of that market or the competitors in that market, most likely they either take it to the profit margin, overhead costs, or depending on how desperate the supplier is, the supplier will also cut their margins as well, or just lower their price. So when people say it's inflationary, that's wrong. Now, is there a price adjustment? Yes. Why? Because what was one of the main strategies of tariffs? Protecting your domestic industry. So that means if we got to make foreign products more expensive to entice buying of domestic products, then that's what it is. It's a price adjustment and not inflationary. I mean, inflationary is adding more money into the money supply. That's inflationary. Like, oh, what Biden did. Yes. So there you go. There's a lesson on inflation right there for you. A difference between inflation and a price adjustment.
Sort of surreal that it could be the Supreme Court that could block this, because Trump was going up against both parties with his tariff narrative. You and I are completely simpatico on this, but we debated more Republicans more than even Democrats on this issue. Everyone said, from the Democrats to Republican economists, saying that this is going to be inflationary. It wasn't inflationary at all. It's creating money flowing into our treasury. Trump's got to be completely overjoyed, and to think a conservative Supreme Court could block it, that would be very, very disappointing and upsetting.
Well, we decided to get into the sports issue with all the controversies. Watch this.
This is a very big play, don't you think? I think they have to get a touchdown. Let's put it differently. They just have to get a touchdown. You can't equate sports with life. You have the triumph and you have the problems, and you got to get through the problems to hit the triumphs, and you can never quit. You can never give up.
Obviously, that was from last night on Fox.
Yeah.
I asked him a question we're going to play tomorrow night on the sports issue.
You know, but this shows, and Ned and Alex were referencing this, the creativity of Donald Trump, his improvisatory ability. What other politician could stand up there, take the microphone, play Terry Bradshaw in front of the whole country live, call plays, and then tie life to it and say, you know what? This is like the triumphs and the victories and the losses.
Okay. Enough of the Trump glazing. But all right, now let's get over to, well, the right side of media, because, hey, man, Dems, it's gonna hurt y'all soul, but y'all gonna have to hold through it strong with us. And don't worry, we'll get to what CNN gotta say, because guess what? They're grilling you guys too. Well, really, they're grilling Schumer. Everybody's grilling Schumer for pretty much wasting everybody's time with this shutdown. Because, like I said, y'all gained nothing at all. I don't actually, you know what? I take that back. I mean, that honestly might have won y'all those elections, or at least why y'all had heavy turnout numbers.
Viewer warning, you're about to hear some foul language.
Let's start tonight's show with the big news out of Washington on the shutdown. By the way, tonight's show will be brought to you by I can't believe it. I can't believe it. They caved on the shutdown.
Caved? I mean, yeah, you're right. They did cave. And let's be real, they dragged the American people out for nothing. And I mean, the fact that even the political pundits are now coming out and admitting that, yeah, you guys caved. This was our leverage. You were supposed to make the American people suffer for healthcare subsidies for billionaires, pretty much. I know, right? Healthcare subsidies for corporations. Yes, that's what you're supposed to make the American people suffer for. I mean, boy, I wonder how long that messaging was going to last for them. Well, thank God I didn't have to hold it out too long, because we was able to get 8 Dems to cross over and approve it through the Senate. Now, just hope that the House go ahead and do the same.
8 Senate Democrats voted with Republicans to reopen the government, and the base is out for blood. Liberals are driving across state lines, hunting down the traitors.
I'm done.
Hi. I spent about a couple hours trying to call this morning, and y'all didn't pick up. So then I drove an hour and a half to be here. Just put us through 5 weeks of suffering to just say, okay.
Yep.
That's fine. It was the most cowardly and weak move ever.
Yep.
He's a traitor, and people will die because of him.
Hakeem's trying to calm everybody down, but
that's what I'm saying. It's like, and I feel her. She's just like, yo, we got dragged out for weeks and we didn't get anything we wanted. No. What y'all left with was a pinky promise on, hey, don't worry, guys, we'll talk about it. Don't worry, we'll discuss it. But open up that government for us, in which they did. And they capitulated and they bent the knee as they should. It is what it is.
Even CNN is putting him in a sombrero.
Was it the shutdown worth it?
We have waged a battle on behalf of the American people.
But at the end of the day, you didn't get what you want. So was it worth waging this fight?
At the end of the day, the fight lives on.
He shut down the government, and all he had to show for it was a stupid sombrero. Not for old Chucky Boy, though. They're throwing him in a wheelchair and rolling him right out the door.
Yeah, he's cooked.
Democrats drew a line in the sand. They said, we are not going over this. And today, after 41 days, they pulled out a shovel and a bucket, and they ate all that sand and got nothing for it. Isn't that great? I mean, it is incredible at his age that Chuck Schumer is still able to bend over so far.
Damn.
The Messiah's disciples have descended down from heaven with a message.
I mean, that's a bit harsh. Like, come on. Well, like I said, if he was gonna go out like this, if Schumer was gonna go out like this, it's best he not even start. Like, why put all the American people under that suffering just not to get anything done? Your base was with you. They was blaming it on the Republicans wrongfully, talking about, oh, well, we're not getting our healthcare subsidies, and this is why everybody gotta suffer. Because Republicans control the House and the Senate. This is why they're the ones taking away our SNAP benefits, even though they're the ones voting yes to give us our SNAP benefits. But, F Donald Trump. So it's the Republicans' fault. I mean, all the BS in the world we was hearing. And here we are, 40 days, 40 nights, and you guys ain't get a goddamn thing. Crazy.
Chuck's not getting Me Too'd, but his time's up.
I think he's been in trouble. I think he is in bigger trouble now. I think Senator Schumer's been there since 1982. My guess is that he won't be leader of the party in 2027 after this election, unless something really surprising happens.
The Schumer shutdown's over, and so Schumer. The coup is in motion. In 24 hours, the squad, Rashida Tlaib, who didn't say anything about the Mideast peace deal, said this: Schumer should step down. Our friend Shri also wants Schumer's scalp. It's time for us to have somebody with guts. Ouch. Hakeem says,
I like Sharito because I like this guy. Like he's a dumbass, but to be honest with you, every time every time the Dems try to say that they're not doing something, this guy goes out there and literally exposes the Democrats' plan. Like, this guy was literally the first person to go out there and say, yes, we're using this as leverage. It's like, yes, we want we want healthcare for illegals. It's like, bro, he doesn't get the message. He doesn't get how to hide the message or hide what they're really trying to do. So shout out to this guy for always telling us what the Dems are really thinking.
For us to have somebody with guts. Ouch. Hakeem says, no way, Jose.
Do you think Schumer should be replaced?
Leader Schumer did not bless this agreement. He voted against it. And of course, Senate Democrats who voted no have made that clear.
Schumer either blessed the agreement under the table or isn't strong enough to control his caucus. Either way, they say Schumer's weak. 80% of Move On members say Chuck should pack his bags and go back to Brooklyn.
Damn.
They say he's surrendered. Chuck shut down the government so the base would think he's tough.
I mean, yo, Chuck, I mean, it might be time for you to go. I mean, Pelosi's out. Maybe it's time for you to follow with her.
How'd that work? Now they're just calling him a coward. Trump says he never should have transitioned.
I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian, and it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
The last time Democrats staged a coup, they didn't have a backup plan. Remember? That's how they got Kamala. MSNBC's like, can we please have a backup plan this time?
I mean, shoot, let's go ahead and hear what these Dems got to say for themselves.
It wasn't going to work.
We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write. Not that the Republicans will write, although I do think it's important for us to engage with them.
Yep, and that's where they stand right now. And those are the, well, I think they showed not all 8 of them, but those are about 4 of the 8 and what they had to say for themselves. And they kind of showed that, yes, this is something that they employed to drag the American people out for 40 days for Obamacare subsidies that, well, didn't really help healthcare, didn't really truly help healthcare. It was going to make it, well, not more expensive. But guess what? It was still going to go by 18 and 30%. But I will admit, without it, it was going to double and triple. But here's the problem. It's supposed to be about affordable health care. So why is the American people paying for these subsidies that does not make health care affordable?
The people who are saying, oh, let's get rid of Chuck Schumer, I'm waiting for the name. They have yet to say, well, who's going to do it? Who do you have? Yeah. Who have you convinced? And who's going to do it better than Chuck Schumer?
Democrats are like, you want the name? Here's a whole list.
I like Chris Van Hollen. I like Chris Murphy. I like Elizabeth Warren. I mean, there are others, but I think someone who has shown moral clarity, someone who gets this moment.
They're going to replace Schumer with a fake Indian? Or the guy who had Margs with the Maryland dad?
Yep.
That's a much worse backup plan than Kamala. CNN says maybe something spicier.
No.
Bernie Sanders in a pantsuit.
Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running way ahead. If she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer and come 2028, she's got a real leg up on the competition. I dare say at this point she would be the favorite to beat him, which would be something that would just blow my mind, even just a few years ago, given that Chuck Schumer, of course, is a New York-born bred.
I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, God, bro. It's over. We're cooked. I mean, can you imagine AOC, like, bro, and they win, bro, and they win the midterms. And not only is she the Democrat leader, but she's now the majority leader. Oh yeah, bro, we are cooked, bro. People are going to jail.
Type of guy.
Yeah, those are incredible.
That's a doomsday scenario.
30 points ahead. My goodness gracious.
Wow. Well, if the party looks different, it's because it is. Ever since Nancy busted her hip, the auto pen retired, and Barack stopped walking on water, the Democrat Party turned into a free-for-all.
Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows.
Well, if you ask the lefties, they know. It's the commie party.
The capitulation of a few Senate Democrats is as backstabbing a betrayal as we will ever need to unite as a true Democratic Party and dismantle the leadership that put us in this position.
I mean, damn, bro, like calm down a little bit. I don't know, bro. You might need a cigarette, a blunt or something. Like, I don't know, take a shot of whiskey, because it is, damn, my man came out a little bit too intense. You can see the intensity. Like, it's almost as if my man's healthcare premiums has already went up, and it went up by like 5,000.
Mom, Donnie,
No, look, man. The energy's unmatched.
The capitulation of a few Senate Democrats is as backstabbing a betrayal as we will ever need to unite as a true Democratic Party and dismantle the leadership that put us in this position. Mom Donnie has shown us the way. It is time to end the era of the feckless Democrat.
Mom Donnie has shown us the way? They learned the wrong lesson from last.
Hey, look, Dems, whatever you do, bro, not that guy. Okay, please, not whoever that guy is, bro. Keep him away from Senate Majority Leader. Or Senate Minority Leader, please. You know what? F it. We'll take ALC over that guy.
Tuesday's election. The Bolsheviks didn't come to power just by slicing the head off the snake. They split the party in half and filled the ranks with communists. Bernie the Bolshevik wants a red revolution up and down the whole ballot.
All right, come on now.
Chuck
Bolshevik is
Schumer
crazy.
is part of the establishment. And I'm sorry to say that many people in the Democratic caucus are part of it. I would say we have 8 or 9 out of 47 people who I would consider to be progressives. The issue right now is doing primaries, getting people involved in the political process. So I think we need to take on the Democratic establishment all over this country.
So according to my math, which isn't great, Bernie just said around 40 Democrats in the Senate, pretty much everyone in the Senate has got to go. They aren't woke enough.
40?
They have to be primary. And in the House, hips could be on the chopping block. Kami Mandami's buddy, a New York City councilman who even the New York Times calls far left, is gearing up to primary Hakeem. But Fetterman, head of the Army wing, says over my dead.
Oh wow, it's a complete turn on the on the leaders of the left, which was Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. But due to the way this turned out and all the I'll be real with you, the very voluminous performance of Hakeem Jeffries, due to all that, it kind of makes them look stupid. It makes them look like they lack leadership. And I mean, Hakeem Jeffries had all the performance for mainstream media, but I guess he wasn't able to win over his own people. I mean, hey, look, all that performance on mainstream media, you should have probably did that in the Senate. You over here trying to convince the people. I mean, bruh, you probably should have tried to convince those 8 Democrats that came over onto the Republican side. And I mean, hey, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you were trying to be all out on mainstream media, trying to blame the Republicans for something that you guys are voting no on. But it is what it is.
Body.
I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations, and a lot of those things were part of the extreme. I promise you, this isn't a political game.
The Brooklyn Bolshevik is going to fight dirty. Anyone standing up against communism is a big, fat, corrupt money puppet.
The division that we're seeing in the Democratic Party right now are those who get a whole lot of money from wealthy campaign contributors. They hire consultants. And I got to tell you, that consultant class is so far removed from reality. It's really quite pathetic. That's one wing of the Democratic Party. And there's the other wing. And that is what Mamdani did in New York.
So while the commies are walking the old timers off the plank, there's a political cobra charming his way through the party.
This is Congressman Sri in Washington, D.C. I'm fighting for affordability, fighting for health care. You know, we're the richest nation in the world, but we don't have our people covered with health care.
The Democrats are in shambles. Nancy's retiring, Schumer's on his last legs, and young communists are ascendant. A civil war is going to force Democrats to spend a fortune. Not only will they have to beat Republicans, they're going to have to beat far lefties in the primary. And these primaries are going to drag these normal Democrats hard left.
So yes, while MAGAs, or I guess the Republicans, are over having a civil war between the America First agenda and the Israel First agenda, or the Zionist agenda, you know, the Dems are having their own little civil war with the, I guess, the sensible Dems like Fetterman, and then the radical Dems like AOC and Jasmine Crockett. So yeah, you know, everybody's having their own little inner turmoil going on right now. It is what it is.
And when Republicans fought their civil war, MAGA won and the party grew. The Democrat Party is facing the same type of plight. You either die or you survive.
I mean, look, we're going through our own little thing too. Let's not get it twisted. Now, I don't want us to take it all that serious. It's all started because of what? Tucker Carlson did an interview with Nick Fuentes, and what, Mark Levin started losing his goddamn mind. And then, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I like Mark Levin when it comes to his like commentary on, you know, Constitution and law and all that good stuff. But bro's a coward. He's a coward. I mean, Tucker texted him like a man, saying, "Look, I know we disagree, but let's have a debate." And you know, Ted Cruz came out. Ted Cruz came outside. This guy Levin started crying, talking about, "How dare you talk about my son," which Tucker never did. But Mark Levin's a coward until he debates Tucker Carlson. And you want to know why I wanted to debate Tucker Carlson? Because I want Tucker Carlson to cook that man the same way he cooked Ted Cruz. And I mean, here's the thing. They're really mad at Tucker Carlson because what, he didn't give Nick Fuentes an adversarial interview. Okay, then you guys go do it. Oh, but we don't want to platform Nick Fuentes. Okay, then shut up. But all right, though, let's go ahead and get on to the next video.
One of the Democrats who crumbled like a granola bar in your backpack is New Hampshire Senator and the Joker's proud aunt, Jeanne Shaheen.
Democrats drew a line in the sand. They said, we are not going over this. And today, after 41 days, they pulled out a shovel and a bucket, and they ate all that sand and got nothing for it. Isn't that great?
Wow, something amazing happened. By the way, Stephen Colbert is more conservative than you knew, according to him. Now, Chuck Schumer just put the country through the longest shutdown in American history, got zero in return. Instead, the radicals in his base are more emboldened than ever. The de facto leader of the Democratic Party is, in fact, socialist Bernie Sanders, who has been openly trashing Schumer in interview after interview after interview for days on end now. Take a look.
Do you, at this point, have confidence in Chuck Schumer to lead the Democratic caucus?
It's not Schumer. Look, it goes deeper than Schumer. It is no secret to anybody who follows these things that there is a division within the Democratic Party. Chuck represents the establishment wing, the corporate wing.
Do you still have confidence in him as leader of the Senate?
Look, Schumer and I have very fundamental disagreements about where the Democratic Party should be. And I am strongly supporting candidates for the Senate who are not part of the Democratic establishment or believe. I think the leadership, this is no great secret. It is my view that the leadership of the Democratic Party in many respects is way out of touch with where Democrats in general are, where many independents are, where the grassroots of America are. So you can argue, and I can make the case that Chuck Schumer has done a lot of bad things. But I think getting rid of him, who's going to replace him?
Now, here's Bernie saying the quiet part out loud, that there is a movement underway all across the entire country where candidates just like Zoran, our friend, commie Marxist Mamdani, are now poised to take the reins all around the country. Take a look.
What we have got to do is go above and beyond what happened yesterday, that terrible, terrible vote, and understand that, yes, you have parts of the Democratic establishment who are way, way out of touch with where the American people are or where we have got to go. And our job is to build a political movement. We are doing it with the 3 candidates for the Senate. I expect more to come with many candidates in the House, candidates all over this country running for local office. We're going to build that movement, grassroots movement, to do what Mamdani did in New York City, all over this country.
All over this country. Bernie's right, but don't take his word for it. Here's the latest polling data, even from fake news CNN. They finally get it right.
What about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, 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 terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer. Look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all of the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who has the lowest rating among Democrats is, in fact, Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats. His own party, he's underwater. He's at -4 points. That makes him the least popular guy for a Dem Senate leader going all the way back since the mid-1980s at least.
Well, I mean, they've disagreed with this man for a long time, but kept him in power, to be quite honest. I mean, I never seen Chuck Schumer really have too much of a challenge when it came to keeping his position.
All right, it's obvious to anybody with eyes to see. It's only a matter of time before Chuck is forced to walk the plank. In fact,
to hear that.
No Democrat, no matter how liberal, is going to be safe. The leader of the idiotic No Kings protest is now vowing to lead a campaign against any Democrat who rebuffed the demands of his party's radical base. Look at this warning. Take note.
They have shown us time and time again this year that given the chance, they will cower. Given the chance, they will capitulate. If they can find plausible deniability, they will give in the regime. If there's a silver lining to all this, it's that this capitulation was so complete that it will be impossible to hide. Everybody can see that the party is not up to the task now. And so we should be asking every single Senate Democratic candidate, are you supporting Chuck Schumer for leadership? And if you are, you don't got my vote. You don't get my donation. You don't get my support. You don't get my attention.
Now, this type of coercion is now everywhere on the left. Just look at how John Fetterman, he went on The View. Look at how he was treated for simply, wanting to open the government, for wanting 42 million Americans that need food stamps to get them, for wanting hundreds of thousands of Americans to be able to travel in a safe and timely fashion. And, by the way, pay our brave men and women in uniform. Make sure they get a paycheck. Take a look.
Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
By the way, what she's saying is wrong. We'll get to that later.
I mean, that's a little crazy. I'd have just looked at her and told her straight up. I was like, all right, look, rich lady, I get that you don't depend on, benefits. I get that you don't got to depend on government pay or military pay or anything like that. But we got millions of Americans who do. And just like you want to do to me, there's some in your own state as well that would love for the government to be back open. So instead of you just going on your TDS crusade, why not just think about the American people instead of trying to shame me for doing what's right for my constituents? Like, hey, if I was Fetterman, that's what I'd have hit her with. Like, tell her to calm down.
This is now the party of out-of-control rage. I mean, they are literally at each other's throats. It lacks all sense of decency, all common sense. The hammer and sickle party, to each according to their needs, from each according to their ability. There's absolutely no room for compromise. As AOC, just plain out said, the old guard in the Democratic Party is about to go extinct. Pay attention to this.
Well, what I think is so impressive about what Zohran Mamdani accomplished tonight, as well as the entire movement of New Yorkers that came out to vote for him, is that he had to not just defeat a Republican, he had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on two fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that sends is that the Democrats.
I mean, let's be real. It was no surprise that Mondani was going to beat the Republican candidate. The real surprise was that, well, I mean, honestly, it wasn't really a surprise. I knew that Mondani was going to win. Everybody probably who wanted Cuomo to win was a bit in denial, but I knew Mondani was going to win.
The Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future.
This is really a historic moment. There are now two groups of Democrats. The first, a cabal of radical socialists who are willing to fight tooth and nail to destroy everything that makes America great, replace it with what? Zoran Mamdani, Soviet-style Marxism. The second group consists of cowardly liberal Democrats, more traditional maybe, that are just bending the knee, scared to death to ever challenge these radicals and put up a fight. They are now being bullied into oblivion. They will be extinct in no time by members of their own party. Ultimately, this will have very serious consequences, not just for the Democratic Party, but for the entire country. We got a little taste of this during the shutdown, and it got bad. It will get so much worse if these socialists are able to gain a serious foothold in our federal government. Socialism, I wrote a whole chapter in Live Free or Die, and its history of failure. It is a failed system. It is built on envy, rage, and magical thinking and false promises. It always ends the same way. Unfulfilled promises by government officials that want power, more poverty, and a loss of your freedom. How, by the way, is your government schools doing where you live? What town do you live in? What city do you live in?
Well, actually, I mean, Mondani just exposed himself already. Instead of raising taxes, which he found out he couldn't do, he's now asking for donations. Yes, donations to fund his wild ideas. Yes, he's asking from the people of New York. Isn't that hilarious?
How did those Obamacare promises work out for the American people? Where's all that money that they were supposed to put away, your money, in a Social Security?
Oh, yeah. And ain't that crazy, though? Like, the Dems want to complain about healthcare, a healthcare crisis, but yeah, under what healthcare system are we under again? Oh, Obamacare. So you mean the healthcare crisis that you guys created? Yep. Just like the affordability crisis that you guys created. But then you sit it on the laps of the Republican and then rush them to fix a problem that you guys created. Ain't that something? Ain't that about a bitch?
Lockbox. Remember they promised that? At some point, simple, basic, fundamental common sense has got to prevail, or America will be doomed if we become New York and New Jersey and California and Illinois. But as President Trump has demonstrated, this is a golden opportunity for Republicans to offer real solutions, to make the American dream more affordable. It must be done. Without skin in the game, without investments or equity in a nice home, socialism becomes a temptation. But with aggressive regulatory reform, et cetera, lower interest rates, abundance of production and energy, which is the lifeblood of the world's economy, and, of course, building materials and food and everything else under the sun, the golden age of America will be better than ever before. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
All right. I mean, we'll see, Hannity. We'll see. If Trump starts sticking to home policies, starts sticking to making things better at home instead of, checking on what's going on over there in Venezuela, we'll be in the right direction. But that means the Republicans got to start focusing on home policies, aka affordability. All right, let's get right to it.
And expanded. So 8 Senate Democrats breaking rank, voting with Republicans to reopen the government.
Yes, these are the 8 Democrats. Well, and 8 Democrats and 1 independent. 7 Democrats and 1 independent that pretty much sided with the Republicans, and they are receiving major heat for doing so.
Government and exposing deep divisions.
2 from Nevada.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is now facing calls to step aside. Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna writing he is no longer effective and should be replaced. As Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib says, Schumer is out of touch with the American people.
So Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman is one of the 8 Democrats who crossed the aisle to advance the bill. And it looks like officially tomorrow we're going to have an open government and end the longest shutdown in American history. Senator John Fetterman joins us now, and his book is now out today. It's called Unfettered, and it's really your life. And Senator, first off, how relieved are you that the government's going to be open?
I mean, so relieved. I mean, I think my party crossed a line of now putting 42 million Americans with their SNAP benefits and making flying less safe and that kind.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and here's the worst thing though, and I'm so happy that a Democrat can come out and say it at point blank and pretty much say like, look, I don't care what your favorite Democrat told you. There is no way you can sit here and blame the SNAP benefit and say that the Republicans are trying to make people starve when the Dems are voting no to fund SNAP. I don't know how I don't know what type of mental gymnastics you did in your head to make that make sense. To where the Dems could literally vote no on it to funding SNAP, but somehow you just found it in your head to blame the Republicans. And then there were even Dems coming out and admitting that they were holding people hostage, admitting that this was pretty much their fault. And you guys still try to say it was the Republicans' fault, even when your own people came in your face and was like, yo, this is us, and we're doing it for healthcare. And that's cool, great, but at least admit that it's their fault, or at least you guys can admit that it's their fault.
Kinds of chaos and not paying our military. I mean, that was a red line for me that I can't cross as a Democrat. And I think that's been described country over the party. And now that I think that's been the truth throughout it. And it's only wrong to shut our government down. And I'm relieved. But the people now that are going to get paid and fed and millions of Americans, they're going to be flying now. That's going to be made more safe and restored.
So Senator Axios has a piece this morning that says Chuck Schumer was talking to the moderate Democrats, pulled them privately aside and said, I know you want to open up the government after 2 weeks, but don't do that. Don't cave to the Republicans. Did he ever talk to you? He knew how you were going to vote. Did he ever talk to you about it?
Absolutely no. I was not in a conversation, or I never got any outreach. Everyone understood. I really kind of led the charge back in March.
Yeah, because I mean, since the beginning, all they needed was, well, they needed 8 Democrats in total, but they already started out with 3, and Fetterman was one of them. So they altogether needed 5, and they was able to convince that 5 to walk over. And, you know, and just like our guy Tim Kaine said, it's like, yo, we dragged people out for 40 days, and hey, it didn't work. And dragging the people out any longer, all the way out to Thanksgiving, is going to be the worst look on the Democrats. Even as much as they try to blame it on the Republicans, trust me, people were coming to their senses on that. I mean, trust me, common sense people were sitting there going like, you know what, it is hard to blame the Republicans when the Dems just voted no to SNAP benefits and, you know, funding the government. It's hard. It's kind of hard to blame the Dems when you guys are voting no on it. I'm sorry, but blame the Republicans when you guys are voting no on it.
And I said, I know we'll be back in September. And I said, I know where my vote will be then too. It's always a hard yes to keep our government open. I mean, that's my principle, because it's wrong to shut our government down. And now we knew that we would put those 42 million Americans for SNAP and paying our military and, you know, the Capitol Police. I mean, people have went 5 weeks without being paid. I mean, that's a violation of my core values. And I think it's our party's as well.
So, Senator, you came in as somewhat an outsider. And by the way, I was wrong, totally wrong about you. I thought you were going to be a radical, and you've been totally different than that. Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows. And I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here. And if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that. I mean, we need to be a big party, a big tent party. So for me, it's like these are pretty reasonable. I mean, my party's always been opposing shutting our government down. I'm not sure why it's controversial now to vote these things. And I refuse to put all these people in the middle of this political kinds of brinkmanship.
I mean, so look, one thing we've learned that, look, when Dems say it, I mean, look, we've seen all the footage of Schumer saying shut the government down is unacceptable. It hurts the American people. We shouldn't do it for political gain. And they go around and do it. I mean, surprise, surprise. The Dems have always, they've always done that. You know what? Here's proof of that right here.
There's a legal way to do it, so you don't have to sneak across in the first place.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
Every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security.
Hey, I know it's always a bad idea when Trump does it, but when all the other presidents do it, oh, everybody just forgets about history, huh? But all right, though, let's get right into our man, Representative Ro Khanna.
Earlier today, I spoke with California Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna. Let's listen. Congressman, the deal is done in the Senate. You are unhappy. How unhappy are you and why?
Well, I'm unhappy because people's health care premiums are going to spike. Yesterday, when I was at Fort Worth Airport waiting 6 hours because of all the delays.
I mean, come on. You don't know that. You guys are assuming duplicitous nature. You're assuming that we're just going to drag this out. We're going to let healthcare premiums go up. Come on now. Just have some faith in the Republicans and have faith that, you guys can come out to an understanding. Unless you guys are going into this bad faith. Unless you're going to sit down and tell the Republicans, look, we ain't trying to hear shit about what you're talking about. We want our subsidies. We don't want no reform. We want it to go to our corporate billionaire donors, and we don't want to hear anything else. I mean, that could be the Dems' position. If they said that could be their position. This could be about lobbying interest.
Someone came up running to me and he said, look, my father's insurance in Arizona, who's a taxi cab driver, is going to go up from $44 a month to $2,600 a month. That is outrageous. The Democrats should have fought for some help for that taxi driver and for 20 million people around America like that.
How much of this do you put at the feet of Charles Schumer, the Democratic leader in the Senate?
Most of it. I mean, he's the leader of the Senate.
Hold on. That's not fair. Hold on. Somebody says have faith is your plan. No. Having faith is the Democrats' plan. And it's so crazy. I always do say, people like to say, oh, well, where's your guys' plan? Well, look, you can go to Mike Johnson, yes, the House Speaker, .house.gov, and then you can go to this little pamphlet here, or this little document, 58 pages of a framework for personalized affordable health care by the Republican Study Committee, a healthcare plan part 1. I mean, you can go ahead and read that out, and that would be their healthcare plan. And has also been recognized as a healthcare plan by the American Hospital Association. You could also look this up at AHA.org, .org. So shout out to the American Hospitals Association for recognizing it as a Republican Study Committee unveils ACA replacement plan. So when they say that Republicans don't have a plan, that is a lie. Yeah, they have a plan. Surprise, surprise. I mean, you should go look it up, read it, see what you think about it.
This deal would never have happened if he had not blessed it. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of other senators who are saying that they kept Senator Schumer in the loop the whole time. Look, I've worked with Senator Schumer. He did an incredible job on the CHIPS Act, on the IRA, on infrastructure, but it's time for him to be replaced. He is not meeting the moment. He's out of touch with where the party's base is.
Congressman, you know all shutdowns end, and if Republicans were adamant, as they said they were, that they were never going to negotiate over the health care part of this debate until the government was reopened, what other alternative was there?
Well, I don't think that they would have been intransigent on that. Michael Lawler, a Republican, was floating the possibility of a one-year extension to the Affordable.
Too late. I mean, we offered you guys a 1-year extension, and you said no. Actually, Akeem Jeffries said no. It was right in Mike Lawler's face. I showed the clip like dozen of times. He walked right up to Akeem Jeffries, said 1-year extension. We'll give it to you right now. Open back up the government. This was weeks ago. You guys said no. You wanted permanent. You didn't get it, and now y'all got nothing. I mean, that's on the Dems. I mean, shoot, if anything, blame Akeem Jeffries. He kind of effed it up for you guys.
Care Act tax credits. So we wanted a permanent tax credit extension, but could we have gotten 1 year or 6 months? I think so, especially when Donald Trump was reeling. He said that he lost the election because of the shutdown. He was putting pressure on them to get rid of the filibuster. Frankly, we should have at least had them get rid of the filibuster. That would have been a better option. But here we got nothing. And here's the point. Obviously, Senator Schumer entered this thinking that the Republicans were not going to be intransigent. Why else make the Affordable Care Act the purpose of the fight if you thought there was no chance of success?
You mentioned being at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. Was a prolonged shutdown, meaning 45 days, 50 days, 55 days, going to be worth it, that damage and disruption to American travel over the Thanksgiving holidays, over this healthcare issue? You were willing to go that far?
I believe we could have gotten a deal before Thanksgiving that would have had some extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits, or that would have forced Donald Trump to say, let's get rid of the filibuster. And then the Republicans could vote with 51 Republican senators in the House to do that. What I don't understand is why we are the ones who abandoned a lot of the working class folks who are going to see their premiums go up and didn't put up the fight. That's really what's frustrating. I do think this could have.
Because if you heard the arguments, Rohana, I mean, there's a good argument there. They're trying to low-key have a reform to Obamacare healthcare subsidies so it can actually help people, help consumers, or help the Americans with healthcare costs. So I'm not really sure what you guys don't understand. It needs to be reformed. It's not bringing down healthcare costs. Healthcare costs is still going to go up by 30% even with the subsidies. So if it's about affordable healthcare, that's a complete fail. Now, you guys are right. Without them, it is going to double and triple, but it's about affordable healthcare. So if we keep funding something and it's not doing its job, then why are we still funding it and not looking for reforms? That's where the Dems are kind of losing everybody. It's like, all right, well, you want to keep funding a failing program and you're asking why the Republicans are grandstanding against it. Well, maybe because they have a different idea. They have some reforms that you might want to listen to.
Gotten resolved still before the Thanksgiving weekend.
Does it astonish you, Congressman, that after Tuesday's election results, when Democrats did feel emboldened for the first time in a calendar year, this is the result?
It disappoints me. It perplexes me. I guess I just don't understand why we have a group of people who are so out of touch with where our party's base is. They just came out in record numbers to give a win to Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill and Zohran Mamdani. They said, look, Democrats, we want you to stand up to this administration's lawlessness. We want you to stand up for health care. We want you to stand up for working families. We want you to show fight for people against a system that is not working. And we disappointed them. Now, can we recover? Yes. I think that the first step to recovering is to have generational change and new leadership. Someone referred to me as a backbencher, calling for the Senate Majority Leader to step down. And I don't think those things personally. Some people were coming saying, oh, Khanna's not a backbencher. But my point was, those of us in the back need to come to the front. It's time for a new generation of leadership for this party and this country.
On that point, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, do you believe he withstands this through this year and all of next year? There's not a scheduled election, as you know, Congressman, until after the midterms. leadership election?
Look, he's going to make his own. He's going to make his own decision. I doubt I'm on his call list, but if he were to call, what I would say, Senator, we've worked together on the CHIPS Act. I've praised you many times when you have done things that have moved the country forward, but you're not meeting this moment. And I think it's time for someone else to lead in the Senate, and you should serve out the remainder of your term with dignity and working on the issues you care about. I think Speaker Pelosi provides a great model for a graceful way to cap out a career.
I've talked to some Democrats today, Congressman, who have heard from those in the institutional support base, the partisan support base of the Democratic Party. And there is conversation today about a donor boycott because there is so much fury over this deal. Do you believe that will manifest?
I don't know. I do know that the activist base is the one that it really wants a new leadership. I mean, obviously Chuck Schumer has a lot of donors and is a formidable fundraiser. And my guess is that the donor opinion is split. But, we need to, as a party, stop listening so much to the donor base. Not that you can't listen to people who contribute, but, we're overly focused on that.
Yeah, but what about your voter base? Because I'm pretty sure they didn't appreciate that shutdown either, considering we're going into holidays and all that good stuff. So I know, I get it. Trust me. I want the Republicans to ignore their donor base as well. We can all agree on that. I mean, both sides need to ignore their donor base. But let's be real. If you're going to ignore your donor base, let's pay attention to the voter base then. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Rohanna, you guys were ignoring your voter base by letting this drag on for 40 days, which is absolutely crazy. But it is what it is.
I think that's one of the reasons that we're disconnected from grassroots politics.
Democratic California Congressman Ro Khanna, appreciate the.
And all right, now let's have a nice little funny clip.
We, the Democrats, want you to remit some of the budget cuts that you have placed. Okay, we, the Republicans, can see how we might have been a bit overzealous. What are some of the budgets that you would like for us to remit? Thank you. It is absolutely crucial that you give us back the $3 million that we were sending to Zambia for vasectomies and circumcisions. And it is paramount that we continue spending $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes for male prostitutes in Haiti. Don't worry, we're also going to be putting them in dance classes, but this is paramount that you give us back the money, because if you don't, we're going to be shutting off the government until you do. At this point, I just need you to tell me that you're embezzling the money, because if you think that this is an effective way to use taxpayer money, that we are in so much deeper crap than I thought. Yeah, if I can just put my 2 cents in here, we actually haven't been seeing any of the money, so we don't know where it's going. That's either.
Yeah, and that's the story of our government. I mean, we have all this money just not to know where the hell it's going.
My lead source tonight is the chief executive of a state where more than 180,000 people get tax credits through the Affordable Care Act. Democratic Governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, and thank you so much for being here, Governor, because on just the affordability in and of itself that you heard the president talking about there, do people in your state who are paying more at the grocery store, do they believe that higher grocery prices, higher utility costs are a con job?
The president thinks we're stupid.
No. You guys think the American people are stupid, and well, nah, I ain't gonna say that. But look, you guys think the American people are stupid, and you guys keep thinking that, oh, well, you don't think the American people know that, yeah, the affordability crisis started under you guys, and it's still going on now, and Trump's only been in office for 10 months, so to blame this all on Trump as if this man hasn't dug us out of the inflation trap is wild. Because like I said, we lost a lot of buying power under Biden, and we gained a little bit back under Trump so far. We're still in the negatives, thus prices are still going up at a slower rate than under Biden, but they're still going up. There's still an affordability crisis that the Democrats put us in that the Republicans are trying to drag us out of. Here's another thing that the Republicans the Democrats didn't want to fix. but they placed on the lap of the Republicans is healthcare. I mean, they could have made those Obamacare subsidies permanent, but no, they waited until 2025 for this exact moment here. So yeah, oh yes, and the failing healthcare system that Bernie Sanders complained about oh so much, Obamacare, the healthcare crisis that you guys are talking about so much, is making healthcare unaffordable for millions of Americans. You can thank Obamacare for that. So yes, like I said, the healthcare crisis that you guys created.
President is telling us to believe our lying eyes. I mean, Caitlin, think about it. I mean, this past weekend, I went shopping with my daughter, and we bought fruit, we bought bread, she wanted some whipped cream. I bought some coffee, some basic items, and it was over $100. That is not a con job. That is the fact that we are watching grocery prices continue to explode. It's the fact that people are watching their energy prices have jumped over 20% since the President of the United States went back into that office. It's the fact that we're watching everything from the food that we are eating to the clothes that we are wearing to the fact that the average new car price now is over $50,000, that is not a con job. And so the president knows that his policies, his tariff policies.
And here's the thing, I would destroy that argument so quick. I'd be like, sir, when do we see the highest rise in pricing? Under Biden. I mean, inflation under Biden. When did housing get so unaffordable for some reason? Under Biden. So all this unaffordability happened when? Under Biden. I mean, so when you sit here and now that we have these inflated prices due to the inflation, due to Biden's reckless spending, what's your excuse on that? Because that price raise is not going away. It's never going away. The only thing we can do to get up out of this is to increase the Americans' to increase our buying power and to pretty much slow down inflation. So we got to pretty much make sure that wages outpace inflation. And this is the problem that the Dems has put us in. And the worst thing about it is they're doing everything in their power to low-key stop Trump's agenda to make sure that wages outpace inflation. But hey, we'll see how it works out.
Policies that have made things more expensive, that they are not popular. So what does he then do? He just tries to change the conversation and make people focus on something else and make other people to blame for it. But he campaigned on this. He has not gotten it done. And I think the election results that we saw last week are a direct reflection of the fact that the people are not buying what he is selling.
Do you worry that Democrats here in D.C. have lost the momentum from those elections a week ago tonight that your party gained, and as I'm sure you'll acknowledge, had not really had in a year probably. Do you think they lost that momentum by ending this shutdown fight?
Well, I mean, I don't know about election momentum. What I do know is I'm not sure exactly what was accomplished from this deal. When you look at the fact that, this deal says things like, well, we're not going to cut SNAP, or we are going to reimburse federal workers who have been working and not getting paid during this time period. My answer is, oh, you mean follow the law? I'm not sure what exactly was negotiated. I am very clear that I want the federal government reopened. I never wanted it closed in the first place. This has had a more significant impact on the state of Maryland than any other state inside this country. So we need the federal government reopened. And I'm also very clear, though, that a prerequisite for reopening the federal government should not be cutting people off of health care. The fact that I'm still working right now, just today, I was with military.
All right, come on now. It's not about cutting people off of health care. You guys are talking about the subsidies that's going to without them, they're going to triple, double, quadruple the costs. Now we're talking about, oh, well, what about people on health care? Whoa, dog. We're talking about affordability, not eligibility. But you know what? Let's go on to the entertaining 4-on-1, damn near 5-on-1 that Scott Besson had to do on MSNBC. I mean, of course. But they was real respectful to the guy.
Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for being.
But what's so funny, though? One of the main reasons why they're so respectful to Scott Besson, like, name the two. I want you to understand that there's two group of people that the left will never attack, like, viciously. I mean, one, women. Well, actually three. One, women. Two, women of color. And 3, gay people. Guess what Scott Besson is? Well, obviously he's not a woman, and Lord knows he's not of color. He's not a woman of color, but guess what he is? He's gay. I mean, he got a surrogate kid and all that good stuff. Husband, all that's good stuff. So that's one of the main reasons why, like, Dems kind of are never so harsh on Scott Bessent. They never say nothing crazy about Scott Bessent because it'd be kind of going against their whole inclusivity thing or the whole LGBTQ agenda thing.
With us, greatly appreciate it. I want to ask you about the government shutdown. It's over now. There have been estimates before that it might take 1% GDP in the fourth quarter from the U.S. economy. With it coming to an end, what's your best estimate right now about how much the shutdown will have ended up costing the American people and how quickly the economy will bounce back?
Joe, good morning, and good morning to all our veterans on Veterans Day. And, we'll see, but clearly there has been a hit to GDP with this unnecessary extended shutdown. I don't know whether it's...
Oh, shoot, and shout out to my man, Oza the Boss, for sending in 1,000 joules, man. Appreciate the support. I just seen it.
It's going to be 1.5% going into this.
Oh, yeah, and also, shout out Oza the Boss for sending in the cheers, sending in another 1,000 joules. Appreciate the support, my man. And shout out King for sending in a thumbs up. Sorry, guys. I'm just now catching it. You know, they show up late for me sometimes.
The Atlanta Fed GDP now showed that the economy was growing at 4%. We've grown at 3.8% the previous quarter. So I'm hopeful that if we can get reopened, we can make some of that back.
Are you optimistic that if the government gets reopened, let's say by the end of the week, that the economy will prove to be resilient and we will bounce back fairly quickly?
I think the economy is very resilient. I don't know how quickly the bounce back will be because, obviously you talked about it a little in the earlier segment on your personal experience on personal travel, but there's also freight was being shut down. And so I think it's going to take a little while to get the supply chains back too. But I think the economy under President Trump's been very resilient, and growth has exceeded expectations almost every quarter.
So I'm going to talk to you about the shutdown and affordability and a lot of other issues. I am just curious, though, and as this shutdown was going, I just wondered, and since, I may have slept through most of my Econ 101 classes at Alabama or been reading Sports Illustrated, I come to you for the answer to this question. And that is, when we have a government shutdown, if it had continued longer, when those flights stop going, when we're not able to move freight around, how much of an impact, let's say this would have gone another few weeks, I'm just curious, how much of an impact does it have on the U.S. economy when our ability to move people and to move freight around the United States?
Well, I would say it like this, just to give a good answer here. Well, look, when government workers don't get paid, let's be real, that's missing money. Like, that money's not circulating the economy. We're not getting no sales tax off that or anything. So money's not circulating like it would be if the government's open. So yes, we got a lot of money that's paused up that's supposed to be circulating in the economy. And because of a government shutdown, that gets paused. I mean, of course, when it comes to certain services that that's entangled with the government, like the airlines, well, the airlines, they found a way to still just keep selling their tickets and just dragging people out on delays and then canceling their tickets. So let's say they sell about 60 tickets. Well, they'll probably be able to send maybe like 40 of those guys off on their flight, of course, with delays included.
States is compromised.
Well, it gets worse and worse. We probably started out at a billion a day, a couple billion a day, then up to 15 billion a week. And Joe, I don't know what it could have cascaded into. One of the things, I didn't want to alarm Americans, but I got a panic notice the other night that said that food inspectors were not getting paid, and that they weren't going to work. So we actually could have had food shortages.
Which is crazy.
I think because we're going to get restarted in time, that's not.
And shout out to my man, those are the boss. He said he sent the lightning disco for $250. Appreciate the support, my man.
Going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and I think on the airline question, I think the smarter way for me to ask it is, how reliant is our economy on air travel, on the airwaves being open, and us being able to move freight and move people across the United States?
Well, it's a core tenet of that, along with trucking and shipping. But in terms of business travel, I received several texts from airline executives over the weekend before we got news that the shutdown might be ending, saying that they were quite worried for their businesses.
Yeah. Affordability has been an issue for quite some time. After the 2024 election, there were many focus groups and others saying that President Trump won because of the affordability crisis. We heard the same thing this past week, that affordability remained an issue. I know you know about home heating prices, food continues to go up. How much of an issue? The president was asked last night about affordability, and he suggested we didn't have an affordability crisis. I'm certainly not asking you to cross the president here, but I am curious, over the next 6 months to a year, how much of a challenge will affordability remain for people that want to heat their homes, want to buy a home, want to be able to pay their rent, want to be able to buy a new car?
Well, Joe, there's a lot there to unpack. A lot of the home heating costs are actually driven by states. I found it very interesting the other day when the governor-elect of New Jersey said the first thing she's going to do is bring down energy costs. Well, Phil Murphy did a terrible job, and energy costs are high because of the choices he made over the past few years. Same for New York State. New York State refuses to put in these natural gas pipelines. There's an abundance of energy next door.
I mean, and the problem in Florida is that the data centers. And I would actually have to pose that question to Scott Bessent. And I would actually honestly urge him to tell Trump that, you better make sure these data centers are making their own energy or have a way to supply their own energy, because if they drag on the energy grid of the locals, it's only going to make electric prices skyrocket on the locals, on the American people. And pretty much it'd be like the American people is subsidizing the energy of these data centers. And we don't need that, because that's exactly what's going on in places like Virginia.
Pennsylvania, you could bring down New York State energy costs just by putting in these.
We already got enough problems.
So part of it's a choice. But when you ask over the next 6 or 12 months, there are two parts to affordability. There's the price level, and we inherited a mess. It was the worst inflation 40 or 50 years. And I think what the president was very frustrated about is, you said everyone started talking about it, that after he took office, like where was the discussion during Joe Biden? Because during the Biden era, it was complete gaslighting. There was a vibe session. Steve Ratner, who you just had on.
I mean, he's making the same point I am. It's like, all this stuff was unaffordable for 2 years, maybe 3 years under Biden. You guys said nothing about it. There was an affordability crisis for 2 years straight. Prices were skyrocketing. People were seeing things go up $2, $3, $4, $5 at the grocery store under Biden, and you guys said nothing. Like now that inflation went down, we're seeing things go up by like a couple cents. Now you guys are talking about an affordability crisis that you guys did not want to bring up under Biden. And here's the thing. No, I'm actually happy that they're bringing it up, because I do want them to put that fire under the Republicans' feet to get it fixed, or to start, honing in on it. But it does kill me when they make the argument, because it's just like, these prices were about the same under Biden, or that, right? There was a far more rapid increase in prices under Biden. You know that, right? But hey, though, it's a Republican affordability crisis somehow, some way, even though the Republicans just walked into this 10 months ago.
Wrote a column basically saying, like, Americans don't know how good they had it. This is, you just don't understand, but the American people know what they're feeling. And what I expect over the next 6 and 12 months, as I said, there are two ways to address affordability.
Yeah, I got 6.
You stop the prices.
Shout out to my man Kingan for sending in the 10 jewels. I better know you guys got 6 months, not 12. It's best sent. You guys got 6 months to make something shake before the midterms to get stuff in all the progress in the world, or you guys are cooked. Okay. The Dems, I mean, look, bro, them Dems win the midterms, everybody's cooked. I mean, shoot, even I might be cooked because they're censoring everybody and they're making sure they're doubling back around and trying to impeach, and they're going to try to impeach Trump. So, yeah, you might want to, this next 6 months, focus on only home policies. No more geopolitical stuff. Just leave Ukraine alone for a little bit. Leave Israel and those guys alone for a little bit. Leave Venezuela alone for about 6 months and just focus on home base.
From going up, you get inflation under control. You have things like energy, mortgages come down. The other side is you get real working class wages up. And that's what happened at President Trump's first term. Hourly workers' wages did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of households by net worth had a bigger net worth increase than the top 10%. For 2 years under President Trump, we had a 4.9% real wage increase. So there will be a point where if you keep prices under control,
I mean, and that's literally what made Trump's first term so good, is that inflation was around that 1.5 to 2%, and wages were going up. I mean, wages went up by about $4 or $5 under Trump, to which if there was inflation, trust me, if inflation was causing a raise in prices, we ain't notice it, because people were making more money. But no, inflation was basically non-existent, and it wasn't causing an uptick or a downtick in price. But yes, and now we're back in the same position. Now we got to find a way to pretty much raise wages to outpace inflation, because that's all we can pretty much do. Because trust me, that price of raise, it doesn't really go nowhere. It's either we raise wages and we just stop inflation, and that's how we solve it, or we let inflation get out of control and we damn near got to do a reset on the currency. And Lord knows how that's going to happen. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, they're trying to say we might have to jump off into crypto and other stable coins, or we might be going through a Great Depression and, we might be back on the gold standard. You never know. But the future looks bright, as they say on PBD, and we'll all get through it. The economy's not going to crash. The dollar will recover, and we're all going to head towards the golden era, God willing.
Bring them down, they turn down, and wages go through that line, and that's when Americans are going to be feeling good again, and that's what next November's election is going to be fought on.
Mr. Secretary, you talk about last year Democrats saying Americans don't realize how good they have it, they just don't get it. It seemed to be what the president was suggesting in the interview last night with Laura Ingraham. Here's what he said.
But other things, as you noted, have gone up. Beef, coffee, auto repairs. Is this a voter perception issue of the economy, or is there more that needs to be done by Republicans?
I mean, let's be real. You don't want to try to gaslight the American people by just I'm be real, like kind of what Scott Besson said in a way. Well, it depends on your state. And that is true. It do depend on your state, on one, how much you're paying for gas, how much your electricity costs. That is state based. Like, your states have their own circumstances on pricing. Like, we might have lower grocery prices here in Ohio because we're a farming state. I mean, y'all might have higher grocery prices than we do because you don't have as much farms as we do. And we have easier access. I mean, that means we use less gas and less energy to get our produce and our food. Like, you kind of see what I'm talking about? So it could be state dependent. But I mean, I guess when you take a national average, I guess you can account for all states.
Capitol Hill, or done in terms of policy?
More than anything else, it's a con job by the Democrats. They're saying, they just have to say, they put out something, say today costs are up. They feed it to the anchors of ABC, CBS, and NBC, and a lot of other, and CNN, and et cetera. And it's like a standard. I'll never forget, they had used a word like manufactured. Do you remember the word manufactured? It's a manufactured economy. Nobody uses that word. Every anchor, broke the manufactured. They do exactly what they say. It's such a rigged system. So are you ready? Costs are way down. Gasoline is going to be hitting $2 pretty soon, or around $2. Gasoline is at $2.70 now.
It's just over $3 right now. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Secretary, it's not news anchors at NBC saying it, it's the voters.
I mean, just a day ago, though. Just a day ago, it was at that, like, what, 2 days ago, honestly. It was like, what, 280 or so over here. But yeah, now it's just a bit over $3. So the gas price has been fluctuating by the day by, like, what, maybe 310 to about 270.
A week ago saying life is too expensive in this country. So do you believe the idea that voters are saying affordability is a problem for me is a con job?
I believe even this morning you had two people come on and say, well, I look at the price at the pump and I know costs
I
are
mean,
up.
like I said, the way I would explain it to Americans, if I was Besson, I would just explain it like this. Look, we lost a lot of buying power under Biden. A lot of currency was printed. And I mean, hey, we didn't do it through regular funding. I mean, we just printed the money and we just prayed to Jesus. And I mean, we got inflation. So it is what it is. So, yes, we lost about $3,000 in buying power due to Trump's policies. We didn't gain about, what, 12,000 to 18,000 back. But guess what? We're still in the red. I mean, we're still about, what, negative 1,800 or so. So, yes, we're still in the hole, guys. So we're still in the hole when it comes to inflation and affordability. Now, Trump done dug us a little bit out of that hole, but we're still inside of the hole. And I would ask, the people to be a little bit more patient. And let's see what happens within these next 6 months to a year. But I like to say, the real timer is you only got 6 months, not a year.
Well, gasoline's down. So that is a con job. And I think that's what's
Which is true.
frustrating.
So you don't believe that?
No, I mean, gasoline is down, though, because let's be quite honest. Like, we was definitely under Biden, bro. It was hitting like $5-6. And then it leveled off to around at like the high threes, like the 370, 380. And then with Trump, we're at the low threes, but like high twos.
All the people who went to vote last Tuesday on the issue of affordability. My rent's too high. I can't afford to buy a house. Groceries are too expensive. You think they're just misperceiving what's happening in their lives?
I think that that we inherited an affordability crisis. We have slowed the price increases down, and they are going to continue to slow down, and that real working class wages will go up, and that will address the affordability issue. And I think this is what Democrats are afraid
that's
to
the
do.
worst thing. But that's the worst case about this whole affordability issue is that Dems could completely screw up the affordability issue in their state and blame it on Donald Trump. I mean, that's what Gavin Newsom's doing. Gavin Newsom is making it complete hell for these people to live in California. And when they complain about unaffordability, what's Gavin Newsom going to tell you? Trump. I mean, when you sit there, you wonder, oh, well, why does my city have high taxes and my state have high taxes? I mean, what they going to tell you when unaffordability is getting reckless and they're over here making you pay for data center electricity? What they going to tell you? Trump. So, I mean, sometimes you do have to look at your state policies before you look at the president.
They've gone to the courts to try to stop President Trump and this great economy. That hasn't worked. They get overruled at SCOTUS. We go to the media who carries their water. That hasn't worked. So
and shout out to my man King showing hella support, man. My man sending a whole lot of hundreds and he did it with a whole lot of combos. Appreciate the support, my man.
They shut down the government and hurt the economy. Let's keep the economy open. Let our policies kick in. And let's see if what I just talked about, let's see if those two lines cross. Costs come down, real wages go up, and then we can have an election next November.
You can blame the media. I understand that's part of your job, but let's talk about.
Hey, and shout out Tess Blake for joining the starter. Hey, man, shout out for joining the membership, dog. So go ahead and, bro, email me. And I'll go ahead and I'll send you the Discord link, dog. Appreciate the support. So first off, let's go ahead and make sure to shout you out here. So shout out to my man who just joined the membership. Where we at with it? There you are. There you are. Perfect.
Voters who are saying life is too expensive. Not just talking about Democrats in New York City who might have voted for Mayor-elect Mamdani, ranchers, Republicans in red states saying things are too expensive. What do you say to them? Not that it's a con job that they feel like life is too expensive, but that it's a reality of their lives.
I say that there are many aspects of affordability that have gotten better under President Trump. They're going to continue to get better. I mean, unbelievably, Bloomberg had an article yesterday that said, oh, mortgage rates aren't down that much. Well, on an inauguration day, a 30-year mortgage was 7.8%. Yesterday it was 6.22%. That is the single biggest component of buying a new home. And that is a gigantic drop. But it said, oh, they're just down slightly.
Do you think tariffs help or hurt prices for consumers in this country?
I think that the tariffs help consumers because we are able to, if you go back and look, they brought down the budget deficit. And MIT came out with a study that said that 42% of the great inflation was caused by the big deficit spending. So as you bring down deficit spending, inflation will come down.
Yep.
And the tariffs, right now,
I mean, under Biden, they ran a deficit all 4 years. And I mean, they did crazy, reckless spending, $1 trillion spending bills, damn near all 4 years. And this is why we had a huge increase in inflation, because of that reckless spending. And then, like I said, they didn't really pull taxpayer funding. They just printed a whole lot of money and thought things were just going to get better. It's like, hey, F it. I mean, they didn't I guess they didn't really want to tax the people. To say, no, we're just going to increase the money supply and see where things go from here. And Biden was told that this is inflationary. This is economics 101, that you printing more money is going to be inflationary. And he just said, F it, let it ride. And here we are today.
Take in substantial tariff income over time that will rebalance as the factories move to the U.S., and that will become the corporate income or wage income. And by bringing down the budget deficit, we are bringing down inflation.
You're an incredibly well-respected financial mind, have been for many years. It's why you got the job, because so many people respect the way you think about the economy. And
I mean, that too. I mean, my man does have like quite the resume. I don't even think you can get a better resume in finance than Scott Bessent, to be quite honest, unless you're like you're Larry Fink or something.
Money. Do you, as a rule, though, even going back to your career in finance, believe that tariffs are a tax on consumers? Do they cost consumers money?
I do not believe that tariffs are a tax on consumers.
No.
Joe?
I don't believe it is either, because it's not. Because inflation, I mean, that mainly has to do with the money supply, not really a raise in pricing. I mean, inflation causes prices to rise. Now, tariffs, you can see, like I said, as a one-time or maybe even a two-time price adjustment, depending on the adjustment of the tariff. So, and like I said, it's about protecting domestic markets. So let's just say that the foreign product do want to pass its price on to the consumer, but hey, it passes price on to the consumer, then they're going to go ahead and lose that on sales to the American-made product. If there is an American-made product. I mean, if they pass their price on, most likely they don't got that much competition. Usually, if a company or a importer decides to pass down their costs, it's because they don't have no competition and they can afford to do so. But when there is competition, well, they hate to pass down their costs because they would hate to lose to their domestic, competition. And that's just the way it works. That's why I always say it could be a price adjustment, or you might not even see no price adjustment at all and they just eat the tariff. But if they do a price adjustment and the price does go up, then that just gives a benefit to our domestic producers, which was honestly how tariffs were supposed to be used in the first place. That's where they were intended to be.
Joe's got one for you.
So, by the way, I just want to assure you, just in case you worry about this, Mr. Secretary, that ranchers and voters in York County who voted for Donald Trump do not wring their hands and say, oh, my God, Joe Scarborough and Morning Joe and people in MSNBC say there's an affordability crisis, so now there's an affordability crisis. I think they live it and they feel it. But let's talk about the piling on effect right now and some of the challenges that you're going to face, the president's going to face, anybody in office is going to face about affordability. So if inflation went up, let's say 9% under Joe Biden, it came down to 3%, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say it's still kind of chugging along at 2 or 3% right now. The problem is people are comparing today with what they were paying in 2019. And so people may say they want prices to plummet and go down, but actually the challenge there is the last thing you want is deflation. So how do you explain that even if you slow down inflation to, let's say, 2%, 1.5%, 2%, which would be great?
Yeah, it's not going to mean we're going to go back to 2019 pricing. I mean, that's long gone. That's the problem. I mean, inflation is hard. It's almost impossible to take it back. So the best thing we can do is raise wages to outpace inflation and lower the rate of inflation to where it's not destroying the affordability for the American people. I mean, it's about as simple as that. I mean, it's simply said, easier said than done, of course.
Americans are still going to look back and think of the good old days before COVID, before inflation, before all of these things hit. You know what I'm saying? There's going to always be sort of this stacking price. Things are always going to be more expensive unless you have deflation, but it's the last thing you want, right?
Well, Joe, you can have disinflation.
Yo, and shout out to my man Oza the Boss for sending in 500 joules. Appreciate the support, my man.
And you can have some goods deflating. We want energy prices to deflate.
Right,
I think there's some food items that can deflate, but as I said before, there are with the affordability, there are two components. There's price, and then there's real wage gains. And Americans are going to look back and think that under President Trump's first term, they saw very substantial wage gains, especially for working Americans and the average household. So I think they're going to look back to that. But, and again, Steve Ratner's charts very conveniently got truncated in 2020 on that.
So, Mr. Secretary, amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers, why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how.
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used our financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America, during an election, the president there won in a landslide. The government's going to make money, and I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if the government collapsed. We have a generational opportunity in Latin America to create allies. We just saw an election in Bolivia. We're probably going to see an election in Colombia. We've seen them in Ecuador. We're going to see them in Chile. So by stabilizing the economy there and making a profit, then that's a very good deal for the American people. And there's a lot we could have been doing for American farmers, but Democrats closed the government.
So how has the United States made money off of this? And you talk about trying to make more regional relationships. The United States
because it's a loan, and we're making money off the interest.
Is shooting alleged narco boats in international waters off the coast of Venezuela. The United States has not provided evidence yet that those are indeed drug traffickers. So how are these two things working in tandem?
We are preempting the collapse of a government and going back to a Peronist agenda and a left-wing government. What if somebody had raised their hand and said, look at what's happening with Hugo Chavez, look at what's happening with Maduro, and they help the opposition there?
Yeah, hey, Mr. Secretary, I'm just curious, just to clarify, have we made our money back already from the Argentina bailout or the swap line or whatever you call it? Have we made that money back now? Are you saying we're going to make that money back from them over time? Like, what's the payout for that?
Joe, we already have a profit on that swap line.
So have we given them? Did we transfer $20 billion?
No,
and we've already gotten back?
Absolutely not. We made a line of credit available, and a small amount of it was drawn on, and we have made a profit on that.
On that so far. Okay, very good. Hey, Mike Barnicle, next question.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Secretary, I hope this question doesn't piss you off.
Well, I don't know.
Because to be quite honest with you, I'm to be honest with you, guys, I thought the only benefit of giving Argentina the pretty much the loan or the line swap or the currency swap was to pretty much ensure economic regional stability in South America. Because as he said, let's be honest, if Argentina goes, then Chile goes, Venezuela, Brazil, and then you have complete economic turmoil all throughout South America. And what's that going to inspire these countries to do? Or what's really honestly going to happen is that, well, the narcos are going to take over, these cartels are going to take over, and they're going to run South America. And we're going to be dealing with them. And we don't want that, because you know what's going to happen? High immigration. Where are these immigrants going to go? Well, they're going to try to come into America and other European countries.
I don't know. It's 4-on-1, but it seems about right.
Well, okay. Yesterday, the stock market took a pretty good jump on news that the shutdown might come to an end. A lot of people did very well in the stock market, I assume. And I assume that you probably were one of them, and good for you.
That would be an incorrect assumption, because I had to sell all my stocks to become Treasury Secretary.
You sold them all?
Had
Really?
to, yes.
But you have a blind trust, I would imagine.
There's no such thing as a blind trust.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for straightening me out on that. But anyway, a lot of people did very well. Some people didn't do as well, but most people did. But there's an element to the economy that's always intrigued me in measuring the economy. And it's not a number, and it's not reflected in a lot of the economic data that we talk about here and that we've been talking about with you this morning. It's called job insecurity. And in my experience, just going around leading a normal life, job insecurity is nearly at epidemic proportions among some people, especially people over the age of 50 or 55, especially with the advent of AI and the threat that poses to so many people and their jobs. What does the Treasury Department and the dollar itself in your job have to do with lessening job insecurity in this country?
Well, I think what President Trump's doing in terms of bringing back high-paying precision manufacturing jobs to the U.S. is all about job security.
Yeah, and all these announcements of firings is not because the economy is doing bad. I mean, that's what the Dems will tell you, that, oh, well, what about Amazon and UPS announcing those firings? Well, that's not because the economy is doing bad. They're making money. The problem is AI. Yes, AI exists. So because of AI, they don't need about 40,000 people. I mean, and that's what UPS is saying. Because of AI, Amazon don't need about 30,000 people. So, yes, when AI comes to creep up on all of our jobs, what happens? Does a universal income come in? Or do we just got to, set fire to the tech oligarchs' mansions, start putting heads on sticks? I mean, it's either or. Is universal income pay or tech oligarchs' heads on sticks? I mean, it's their choice.
How many jobs have come back?
I mean, hey, see, people, like that option that you can be stress-free about. There's only two options for these guys: universal income or heads on sticks. That's all they got.
That it's just starting. I was down in South Carolina, my home state, on Friday. There's a new rare earth magnet factory going up, 800 construction jobs, 300 jobs now. They think it may go up to 3,000. Boeing, thanks to
and that's what I was saying. Like, it was kind of it really irritated me, but it would be a bigger spectacle if Trump was to come out to some of these groundbreakings for data centers, for starting up on construction. Because yes, there's a construction boom going around, but like I said, there's only a boom going on in one job sector right now, and we're trying to look for it across the board. So yeah, they need to low-key start like I would say framing that. Start putting it out there on the headlines, because there is progress being made. It's just not front page. And Lord knows the Democrats ain't gonna make it front page, because they want to pretend like it ain't happening.
President Trump's effort of selling Boeing airplanes as part of our trade deals around the globe. Boeing believes that President Trump's helped sell up to 1,000 airplanes. The Boeing plant in Charleston is going up 50%. That's going to be 1,000 new jobs. So as we see these factories break ground, manufacturing comes back, I think there's going to be plenty of job security.
Mr. Secretary, final question.
And a huge shift to STEM and maybe in robotics. And then, of course, the American people are going to have to stand up for this, because Like, one, we can't allow them to just like give our jobs away to H-1B visas or illegal immigrants. And two, we're going to have to make sure we shift towards robotics and AI. That's where everything is going. And until AI fixes itself, we're going to have to fix AI. So, I mean, you know, maybe cable technicians and guys who work with their hands, like electricians and all that good stuff. And of course, you know, the new generation turning into robotics might just be the best thing we got right now. And I'm talking about the hardware of it. Like, you know, we're the ones putting it together, and we'll let AI, you know, program it.
And thank you for being on. And hopefully you really don't feel like it's 4 against 1 here. But I'm curious. We have
really, it's tech and engineering we're betting on.
Axios, Jim Vandehei and Mike Allen. They come on an awful lot, and they've been looking into the challenges for workers that's going to be coming about with AI. Also, of course, as you know, robotics is upon us, sort of that robotics race. And so we're starting to hear anecdotally, Jim's starting to report on it as far as hard numbers go, about the challenges, especially for younger Americans getting out of college, getting jobs because of AI. And especially white collar workers. I'm curious, what is your view of that? What would you say to these younger Americans about what the world looks like, what the economy looks like in the United States over the next 5 to 10 years because of AI, and why they have reason to be hopeful?
Oh, well, I think they have reason to be hopeful because
I will start convincing these guys to start using AI as a tool. Like, yes, use AI as a tool to keep your job before AI just completely replaces you. Try to show your boss why you with AI is the best option for the company. Because honestly, hey, AI works best with human input. Now, of course, it's getting the self-learning part is a bit mysterious, because I'll tell you this right now. AI professionals, the AI like engineer guys, they don't even understand how AI is teaching itself. They don't even understand AI all the way. We can build it, we don't understand it, which is pretty scary, to be quite honest with you, because usually when we build something, we know the ins and out of it. But AI is the first thing that we've built that we don't know like how the hell it's doing what it's doing.
They're laying the ground for a very strong economy and bringing back these precision manufacturing jobs. And you know, these factory jobs aren't all jobs on the factory floor. They could be working upstairs, whether it's in the marketing, in the data processing. But I do think, I don't know how old your children are. I have one that's just a teenager, one that's a preteen, and you know, I encourage them to learn about AI and to become AI literate. But in the history of product,
I say, yeah, you better get used to working with AI. I mean, now some people work with their hands, and there's no need to use AI. Maybe like, shoot, I work with my hands, and I could possibly pop up something. Maybe I forgot something on the techie side, and I need to look it up and be like, yo, how do I route this to this again? And they'd be like, oh, well, this is how you do it. 111. How do I set up this shelf command? Oh, this is how you do it. So I can see how this could help me in my daily job. I mean, but how could it help you? That's the main thing. How could it help you? Because that's what you're going to need to find out. Or maybe it can help you implement a business plan. I don't know. Help you expedite little side tasks. Who knows? But you got to make AI work for you and not let it, you know, take your work.
Productivity booms traditionally lead to job growth. So I would expect that over the coming months and years that we can see substantial job growth. We're seeing a CapEx boom in the U.S., and we've never had a CapEx boom that hasn't followed by an employment boom. So.
And I mean, that's a really good argument, because I mean, let's be real. I know we're all freaking out about AI, but everybody was freaking out about the internet. And that was true. Everybody was freaking out about the internet, like, oh, it is going to take our job. Everybody was freaking out about calculators. Well, oh, you don't need the mathematicians like that no more. So, yeah, trust me, with new technological advances, there will be jobs taken, but there are jobs that are created that we never expected. I mean, like with the birth of the internet. I mean, surprise, surprise, look at me. Who'da knew? Who'da knew? Who'da knew? Who'da knew it came out to this? Like, the internet sure did take a lot of jobs, but it sure did create a lot of them. So, hey, a lot of people went broke when the internet came about, but then a lot of people became millionaires also. So it is what it is, and we'll see what AI creates. And hopefully is not the first technology to disappoint. And it starts taking without giving.
But yeah, I think it's going to be for young people going into the job market. I think AI literacy and becoming, I think the term used to be digital native. I think you and I are probably of the age where we missed being digital natives. And I think in terms of being an AI digital native is going to be very important for all job seekers.
It's coming out fast.
Now,
I mean, to be quite honest, AI, in my honest opinion, I don't really see it creating jobs, but I see it steering the American people towards basically, like I said, robotics, wiring, engineering, more electronic work, to be quite honest with you. Like, that's what I see AI doing. I see it steering the American people away from all else other jobs that AI can do. And damn near all of us are just working to service the AI, to service our AI infrastructure. And that's that, because AI is doing everything else.
Your children listening to you? Or are they actually, because I keep telling my children to do,
which is not a very good future. I'll be quite honest with you. It's not a future I'm looking forward to.
Do that too. And they say I sound like an advertisement for Chat GPT. Are your children actually doing that and becoming more AI literate? Because I think it's so important for all parents to tell their children that.
They seem to be enjoying the screen time. We'll see how it works out.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Mr. Secretary, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Shout out Scott Bessent. My man did the 4-on-1. 4-on-1. Shout out. All right, let's go on to another reaction on this.
This discussion of costs and prices and affordability. How does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans?
Do you know what a swap line
is? Hey, so crazy, though. I heard 20, I've heard 40 billion, 60 billion, 100 billion. It's like, bro, y'all Dems just keep on upping the number. But as of now, it's only 20 billion.
Yes.
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but why would you call it a bailout?
That is how.
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money.
Oops. The Treasury Secretary Bessent joins us now to talk about this. Sir, good to have you here in the studio.
Hey, Rob, good to see you again.
That was, I thought, the best moment of the morning. I enjoyed watching it. The entire media, and I mean the entire media, has been slamming you and the Democrat Party as well for this move that was made with Milei. They know Milei is a very close friend of the president's, their allies. But it sounds like nobody actually knows exactly what you guys have just done. And I think everybody figured it out this morning.
I think so, Rob. And look, we used the U.S. balance sheet to.
I mean, when you move back past the TDS, you can see the good of, what they're doing for Argentina. If you move past the TDS, you can see the good in it.
Bolster a great ally of the United States. I call it the peace through economic strength. And how much better to put up the credit and full faith in the United States government, make money, and bolster an ally rather than end up with something like we've got with the Maduro regime, where we're having to target these drug ships and take military action. The question was, how is this good for Americans? It's great for Americans because we are taking back Latin America through our economic leadership. There will be no bullets. Chile has an election coming up. Bolivia just had an election. First time in 20 years they've gone center-right. They have embraced the U.S. Paraguay, Ecuador. So our whole hemisphere is coming our way, and the Obama administration had the same opportunity, and over their 8 years blew it. And I promise you, President Trump does not want that to happen here.
Right, and to the people that are thinking America first, as you said, this is a line of credit, and when it's borrowed on, we make money, I believe, on the interest, right?
Yep.
And they pay back with interest.
Well, they pay back with interest, but the way to think about it is, look, maybe for your first loan, your parents co-signed for it.
Sure.
We basically co-signed, and we are getting a big fee. It's from something called the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Exchange Stabilization Fund has never lost money. And by the way, where were the same people when the Clinton administration used exchange stabilization fund in 1995 for Mexico. That made a huge profit.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're not giving away money, and that's what people really care. That was what they tried to stick on you. I mean, even 60 Minutes tried to stick it to you with that farmer story over the weekend that I saw.
Yeah, I don't want 60 Minutes.
Yeah, and all this is happening through the IMF, and that is the International Monetary Fund. Like, you can go ahead and look that up right now, but that's what they're pretty much doing this through, is the International Monetary Fund.
Anymore, so it's a lost cause. Only when the president's on.
Oh yeah, well that was a high-rated episode, right? I want to talk about affordability. The president says cost of.
Hey, and shout out to my man Devilish Fish for sending in the 500 joules. Appreciate the support, my man.
Living issues are being manufactured by the media. At the same time, and that is happening, but at the same time, there is a general feeling that life is still very expensive, because of course it is. We just went through a hell of a lot of inflation the last couple of years, like the kind we haven't seen in 40 or 50 years. Those prices are still elevated. We're having, it's inflation's down. It's still sticky at around 3%, maybe a little under 3%. It seemed like this morning you admit that, cost of living is still expensive in this country, but there's things in motion that you believe are going to move us in the other direction. It's like turning the Titanic, right? It takes time to get these things going.
Yeah, well, it's also, if the house got burned down, you got to rebuild starting with the foundation, Rob.
Yeah.
And I think what the president is frustrated by is the media narrative, because the media narrative, the 2021, 22, 23, and even 24 during the campaign was Americans don't know how good they have it. It's a vibe session. I still remember that word. And
we were in the best economy of our lifetime, was what the Dems were trying to tell us.
One from the New York Times to former Fed vice chair to Wall Street Journal even, they said it was a vibe session. And instead of owning the inflation, they just said, the American people don't understand how they're feeling. And we came in, we inherited a mess. We have brought the inflation down. And Rob, there are two ways for curing affordability. There's bringing inflation down, because some of the prices we are going to be able to bring down. So energy prices, gasoline,
down quite a bit.
4-year low.
Yeah.
4-year low. Mortgage rates, when the president was January 20th, when the president came in, 30-year mortgage, 7.08. Yesterday, 6.22.
Yeah.
That's a huge move.
It's a big difference.
If we can get mortgage rates down into the 5s, that will help home ownership quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I think the president is just frustrated by the narrative, because I can tell you that every day he is working for the American people. That we have nonstop, all hands on deck meetings on this.
Yeah, and I mean, the hardest thing with this country is that every 2 years you have an election. And when you got a country this big, 340 million people, making changes takes a lot of time. And I think that's the hardest thing to get through. One idea that got a lot of attention this week was the 50-year mortgage that popped up. It seems like the White House is moving away from this, and understandably. But there are some other ideas and I think one of them at least was one of your ideas that I thought were really interesting. And one of them was the portable mortgage, the ability to transfer your mortgage rate to a new property if you buy it, or the assumable mortgage, which you can assume the interest rate of the house that you just bought if they have a low rate. Talk about that, because those are actually ideas I think that Trump voters are going to love.
Right. I don't know about the assumable mortgage, but the portable mortgage is something that works very well in the UK. If you have a low rate, and there's so many people with mortgages that are 3% or below from the pre-COVID, the COVID years, that they just don't want to move. And it's that logjam that is jamming up the housing market. Someone might want to trade down to a smaller house, but why would you trade down when you have such good financing arrangements? So if you could move your mortgage and maintain the rate, again, it works.
Is that something that we could we do that? I mean, what would that take to get that done? Because, I mean, that's obviously a regulation, right? But that would be enormous. I mean, if you have people that have a 3% mortgage, why would they move or sell or buy in this moment?
Yeah, look, I think with President Trump, everything is on the table because he is so interested in getting this affordability crisis fixed. And as I said,
right now it seems like the Trump administration is just throwing ideas out there and seeing what sticks.
this morning, and the host didn't really want to hear it. There are two ways to fix the affordability crisis. So we inherited a mess. President Trump has pushed down the rate of change, but Rob, the other way is real income growth. And during President Trump's first term, we saw the hourly workers do better than supervisory workers. We saw the bottom 50% of American households by net worth do better than the top 10%. So there will be a point, and when the chart comes out, I will come on and share it with you the first day it comes out, that inflation will turn down and real wages will turn up. And when those lines cross, which I am confident that they will, then Americans are going to feel it. Just like when they were told there's a vibe session, you don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a problem under Biden. As inflation was going up, wages stayed completely still. So let's just say this. So let's say your job is paying you, I don't know, like $30 an hour, right? $30 an hour. But inflation's going up. It's been going up rapidly for the past 2 years, and they have not given you not one raise. That's what kills people. And let's just say it's been going up like slowly, like over like 3 years. That's a slow inflation. It's going to take a while for inflation to make $30 an hour not shit. It would be, you basically have to be under like 15% inflation for your $30 an hour for it to be ate up like within the next 2 months. But yeah, think about it like that.
As much as the mainstream,
I mean, that's pretty much what Biden did to, well, the wages during the last 4 years. Wages didn't raise all that much, but inflation outpaced wages, and that's why affordability got so bad. Affordability was good under Trump because, well, wages outpaced inflation completely.
Media keeps telling them there's an affordability crisis. They're going to say things are pretty good in my household.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a Biden hangover to that, but it does seem like what you're doing has to, at some point it's going to click harder, and we're going to get there. Are tariffs impacting inflation at all from what you see? I mean, everybody, even people that love you guys, that voted for you guys, I hear guys on Wall Street talk about how that's part of the reason that we're having this sticky inflation.
They've been completely wrong.
They're wrong on that?
Completely wrong.
Okay.
I had a very good 35-year career in Wall Street by pushing back against the conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
The conventional wisdom after April 2nd was the economy's done, the market's going to crash, the dollar's toast, and it's been just the opposite.
Yeah.
Just the opposite. So we've had new highs in the stock market. If you dig down inside the data, and the pundits don't like to look at data, they like to look at narratives, and just like my friends this morning. And if you look, that goods inflation, which would be where imported inflation would show up, has been the very, very, very tame. It's been in services, which tells you that there's big demand for services. Services aren't imported; they're not tariffed.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like what you're doing is working, and the revenue seems to be rather tremendous. I mean, I'm trying to think if we can get to a place where, I think about the national debt a lot, and I think about how much we're going to inherit, and our children as well. But if you can get to a place where we can cut this government down to size, and you can also bring in a few $100 trillion a year in tariff revenue, we could almost get to a place where you might be starting to balance the budget and not be $2 trillion over every year.
Well, Rob, what's gone unnoticed in this government shutdown is we actually brought down the deficit this year.
Yeah.
It wasn't by much. It was by 1.8 trillion to 1.77 something, but it decreased. The GDP grew. So under the
AKA they spent about $100 billion less than Biden did, but we need we need about $1.5 trillion more to be cut for us to balance the budget. Because that's the problem. I mean, we do about $1.5 to $2 trillion in deficit spending a year.
Under the Biden administration, we inherited the worst deficit to GDP when we weren't in a war, weren't in a recession, 6.4, 6.5%. It now has a 5 in front of us, 5.9. And we're going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And like the idea of tariffs is initially you take in this huge tariff income. Eventually, the factories come home, the jobs go up, tariff income gets replaced by domestic taxes. So the U.S. bond market, by the way, is the only bond market, major G7 bond market, that has lower yields on the year. And that's because our fiscal situation has improved.
Right.
Everyone else's has deteriorated.
It is impressive. And I mean, we're still trying to fight off what they did to this country during COVID, and the growth of that government was just so explosive. I want to talk about some of the money that's being brought in. You were just in South Carolina. You went to the Boeing, where they make the jets. They announced $1 billion investment, huge expansion, more than 1,000 jobs. You went to a rare earths magnet processing center. Everybody talking about how important this is. Trillions in new investments have been brought into this country since the president came in. I mean, we're talking about numbers so big that you can't even fathom them. It's now just about getting that money into the economy and seeing the effects of it, right?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to go down to my hometown, home state in South Carolina and see this, because it is the beginning. Boeing is sizing up the president via these trade deals. Boeing gave him the Salesman of the Year award. He sold more than 1,000 Boeing aircraft, and Boeing is adding, I think, a 50% capacity increase on the Dreamliners and 1,000 new jobs. This rare earth facility in Sumter, South Carolina, rural South Carolina, that I went to visit, not only is it part of taking back our sovereignty by having rare earth production, it was a great story, Rob, because many of the workers there had worked at a Caterpillar plant that had closed.
Yeah.
And this facility went out of their way to hire those Caterpillar workers. So there were 800 construction jobs, 300 jobs in the factory, but the factory thinks that they can grow between 6 and 10x. So that could be up to 3,000 jobs in this rural area in South Carolina. It's an incredible story, but that's just the beginning. And Rob, you know why? Why is there a rare earths factory in Sumter, South Carolina? Because Governor Henry McMaster got them the permits in 8 weeks. 8 weeks. And what we are seeing, and I think we're going to get a bigger and bigger divide in this affordability crisis, is red state versus blue state.
Yeah.
At Treasury, we are now doing an analysis of inflation state by state. And there are some states that want to fight it, some states that want to cause it. The governor-elect in New Jersey came out and said, first thing I'm going to do is get energy prices down, or her predecessor is the one who put them through the roof.
Right.
So,
and they don't do anything to make them come down. And they have so many levers they could pull, and they don't use any of them.
Yeah, and we're sitting here in New York today. Governor Kathy Hochul has promised the administration for months, that she would be willing to put in these natural gas pipelines. Pennsylvania, next door to New York, is natural gas rich. And they're
so beholden to the climate grift that they can't just do the very easy thing to make everything less expensive.
Well, it's a decision.
Yeah.
Europe is making.
I do say, man, the whole climate change thing is a scam. Now, the potential of green energy is there. I mean, yes, it can definitely replace, like, crude oil, but the way it's being done right now is a scam, and it's being subsidized by the American people. I mean, just like it's being subsidized by people in Europe. I mean, we're all paying higher on our electricity bill. Why? To subsidize green energy, solar panels, wind farms, all that good stuff that we got to outsource for China. I mean, where do you think we get these solar panels from? China. Where do you think we get the wind turbines from? China. So guess what green energy, guess who that really helps? Guess where this whole green initiative goes to? China. So it doesn't really help us, but it sure as hell does help China. So that's why Trump is trying to stick to more of the crude oil, the whole drill baby drill, because that's helping America out. But sticking to the climate change initiative only helps out China.
Made the decision.
Who was actually putting switchers in our solar panels. So if we'd actually went all green energy, I mean, boy, our power grid might have been controlled by China.
I'm hoping the northeastern part of the U.S. does not make the decision.
Wise up.
Because what's happening is people are voting with their feet.
That's exactly right. Got to ask you one more here. You're trying to end this war in Ukraine. The president's hot on that. Russia's second largest oil company is called Lukoil, which is funny because I just drove past one of those gas stations in New Jersey the other day. You've hit them with some pretty serious sanctions. Is this going to be what's needed to force Putin's hand?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, we think of it as sources and uses. And what are the sources of Putin's revenues? It's this big oil income. And the president had enough and decided to sanction the two largest Russian oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, and a couple of the Kremlin proxies actually had the nerve to try to come and buy them back. Yeah. And right. I will tell you, I will say it here on national TV, if I were a banker for these Kremlin proxies, I'd be very careful, right? Because the U.S. Treasury is watching you.
Yeah, it's spun up a lot of stories in that part of the world, other countries that have Lukoil facilities and things like that.
Yeah, well, look, it says, they always say, follow the money, and we'll see what happens here. But President Trump, as usual, is powerful, decisive, and quick acting.
Got 10 seconds left. Do you like the job?
It's incredible.
9 months in?
Honor of a lifetime that President Trump is 21/7. Yeah. I have the busiest day I've ever had every year. It's an honor to serve the American people, and it's an honor to be with you on Veterans Day. My dad was a disabled veteran, and I love today.
I love that.
Oh, well, shout out Scott Besson. I mean, shoot, I think he's worth like $500 million. He grew up broke. The man grew up broke. So shout out to him. But all right, now let's go over to the next video, because Dr. Oz, got some words for Keem Jeffries, who couldn't really address his argument, but just try to say, oh, he's not a real doctor. Who is he? He don't have no real credentials. When I'm be real with you, let's be real. Dr. Oz got some credentials. And then also, he must not look this man up whatsoever. He must just know, he's a TV show doctor. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, well, actually, it does. It does. It means that he's actually pretty well accomplished to the point where they felt like he needed a TV show because of how much knowledge this man had. Off the dome, off the top of his head. He didn't need no medical book. He was able to tell you what it is off of memory.
President Trump pitching a whole new vision for American health care after Obamacare became a key sticking point in the shutdown talks. He says Trump care will be both more effective and more affordable. President Trump broke how his plan would work in an interview last night with Laura Ingraham.
The premiums have gone up like rocket ships. And I'm not just talking about recent. I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Mehmet Oz, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator, to discuss this. Dr. Oz, welcome to you. Good to get you back on the program. So what would Trump care look like?
Well, these are all ideas that we're still working on, in part because until the government shutdown formally ends, we don't have all the people in the room who need to work on these programs, including actuaries and insurance experts. But let me take a step back and explain why the president feels so passionately about this. And, if you've noticed, there have been quite a few things on the agenda around health, and not just because Secretary Kennedy is pushing the MAHA agenda, but because MAHA really means making it easier to be healthy in America. So the most favored nation drug pricing, which you've been following over the last month, where we've taken...
Oh, guys, and if you honestly haven't been paying attention, there have been hearings on Medicaid, and they've been having Medicaid recipients from businesses to individuals that's been coming up and explaining their story. And I mean, to be quite honest, they was tearing Obamacare, not Medicaid, but Obamacare up and during the hearing, because they've exposed it, saying that, look, Obamacare has actually helped the corporations. Obamacare has increased price on American citizens, and is now coming out that the old healthcare plan, or the old way of healthcare, would have been a lot cheaper than Obamacare.
A leading U.S. company, leading European company, the fertility drugs, and just last week, the GLP-1 weight loss drugs, and gotten those prices down to where other people in the world pay them. No longer will there be global freeloading where Americans are paying 3 times more for the same product in the same bottle made in the same factory. That's part of a larger strategy the president has embraced of negotiating. You heard him say it in that little clip from Laura last night. So the fundamental question is, how do we empower people? And what the Democrats did during COVID, and the Obamacare system was out there working, whatever, but during COVID, there was an additional layer of incentives, of money thrown at the problem, which has historically been how, unfortunately, Democrats deal with these issues. They see an issue and they just throw cash at it, hoping someone will figure it out. In this case, some of that money got pocketed, but I'm going to share with you numbers that will blow your mind. And these are the actual numbers from CMS. We believe 4.4 million people are not appropriately enrolled in Obamacare, which means they're phantoms. They don't know they have the insurance. They don't want the insurance. They didn't need the insurance. They're already enrolled in some other policy. So we as taxpayers are
okay. So, well, you might have, hey guys, you might be on Obamacare and don't even know it. And the thing, I mean, I guess there's an incentive because, like I said, it's government subsidized. And here's the worst part about it. It goes to the healthcare companies, the pharmaceutical companies who overprice it and still raise their healthcare premiums. Still, like that's even worse. So and that's the insurance companies like United Healthcare. I mean, and what was it? Yes, it was the United Healthcare guy who got shot by Luigi Mangione. Now, since Obamacare has been enacted, do you know how much their stock has grown? 1,200%. Yep. So Obamacare, trust me, it worked wonders for those guys.
paying for 4.4 million people to have full benefits for no good reason. And when you check into behind the scenes of why this is happening, when the Obamacare additional COVID credits were added in 2021, beginning of the pandemic, there were about 3.5, 4 million people who were never using their policies. And that's normal. Sometimes people don't use their insurance policy. Today, it's over 11 million people who have Obamacare never use their policies. They don't buy medications with it. They don't see doctors and use it, which means they often don't know they have it. And yet we're still stuck with the bill. The president doesn't want that anymore. He wants the waste, fraud, and abuse taken out of the system. He wants to take care of the people getting the ACA, Obamacare insurance. And we want to bring privately carried people into the system as well. And that's what he's talking about. Let Americans use their money wisely. Allow people in the private sector to also use the exchanges. When Obamacare was created, they take a step back because this is the original vision. 50% of the people on Obamacare were supposed to be paid for by the government. 50% were supposed to be spending their own money. Now it's 95% government funded because we drove out all the private sector people by overpaying into the system.
Yeah, I remember when all that happened. And in this big debate over health care, the minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, took an opportunity yesterday to say some rather unkind things about you. Here's what he...
It's a pretty socialist program that end up failing once what? Oh, yeah, the people who are funding it don't want to pay it no more. Or the fact that we were funding it and it wasn't doing its job. Ain't that crazy? I mean, we tried. I mean, hey, Dems, y'all tried. Y'all tried to do affordable health care, but completely failed at it. Actually, let me be real with you. I don't even think the Dems actually wrote up Obamacare. I think that the pharmaceutical company, the healthcare company, and the insurance companies got together. They kicked all the senators and the congressmen out the room, and they wrote Obamacare. And we just think that I was written by the Dems. So, Dems, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say that y'all absolved of this. It's not really. You guys were tricked into thinking that Obamacare was your guy. It was all you. No, it wasn't. It was really the corporations. That's who wrote Obamacare, not you guys. Because, I mean, man, if y'all knew this was going to be Obamacare, I'm pretty sure you guys wouldn't even have voted for it.
Nobody who's serious in this country takes Dr. Oz seriously. No one. And I mean, it's shocking that the guy even was confirmed. I'm not going to respond to any comments from randos like Dr. Oz, who is woefully unqualified to be in whatever position he holds in the administration. He's a joke.
So, Dr. Oz, you and I have known each other for about 30 years now, and I put together this little collection of potential qualifications that you have. You did your undergraduate degree at Harvard. You did your MB at UPenn. At the same time, you did an MBA at UPenn's Wharton School. You're a renowned cardiothoracic surgeon at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. That's when you and I first met. You created the complementary medicine program at Columbia Presbyterian. You're a professor emeritus of Columbia University. You invented the mitral valve clip.
Wow.
Harvard called you one of its 100 most influential alumni. And Time Magazine named you one of its 100 most influential people. So do you want to take a moment here to respond to the...
I mean, bro, literally, it's like... If you wouldn't want to sit here and call Dr. Oz unqualified, you just got TDS. I mean, bro, there's literally people who try to say, oh, Trump has the most unqualified bench ever. And just like, look, you know what? I would actually start naming them bit by bit because I could agree with you on Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, but like Scott Besson, I'm going to be honest with you guys, like Dr. Oz, even RFK Jr., I'm gonna be real with you. He's a bit more qualified than the last person.
Minority leader?
Well, Congressman Jeffries panicked. You know, he didn't understand the message that's an important one, so he tried to attack the messenger with an ad hominem approach.
Yeah, I didn't even know he invented anything. I knew, like I said, I knew he was well accomplished in his like, I'm real with you, in his medical studies or his medical pursuit, but I did not know he invented stuff. Huh, cool.
But, you know, that's not how you deal with the challenges that 24 million people are facing now, because the Democratic Party has not been able to really put forward a program that could work. Just throwing more money at it is not a strategy. That's a tactic that has already created immense amounts of fraud in the system, as I outlined. What I need Congressman Jeffries to understand is there are people in his district who are getting Obamacare and don't know they have it.
Oh.
We believe hundreds of thousands of people around the country are getting tax forms from the IRS claiming they have bought Obamacare where they had no knowledge about it, whether it's corrupt brokers or mistakes, or no one ever bothered asking them. But the congressman in his own district has this problem. All he's got to do is open his eyes and ears and listen to what's going on. And this is what's destroying the exchanges. This is what we're trying to do in this administration. We're trying to save Medicaid, save the ACA. You save it by making smart policies so the people who are vulnerable, who desperately need these programs, will have them for years to come. And you make sure folks who are not supposed to be on them, who don't even know they're on those programs, are not taking advantage of them. You definitely don't give the money away to the insurance industry. When you have insurance companies making, 10 times increase in valuation, it's because money's being thrown at a problem and it's not going to the actual issues.
Considering you've labeled him woefully misinformed, I wonder, Dr. Oz, maybe schedule a meeting with him.
I would welcome a meeting with Congressman Jeffries.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you ask Hakeem Jeffries, I mean, all right, do you know where Obamacare subsidies go to? You know where all $29 billion of taxpayer money go to with Obamacare? Do you know Hakeem Jeffries? He'll probably just tell you, oh, well, it's all about affordable health care. Yeah, okay, great. Well, if it's about affordable health care, then why does these healthcare subsidies still with them? Why does healthcare costs still go up by 18-30%? Why does the healthcare premium still go up? I mean, you would ask him again, well, do you know where they go? He wouldn't be able to tell you. Well, it goes to corporations. It goes to the insurance corporations and stuff like that. And guess what? They still increase premiums. And instead of it going to the people who are supposed to help, it goes to the insurance corporations or other corporations as well. And it helps them profit. I mean, so for the guys who hate the rich, who don't believe in billionaires, who believe that these corporations are taking advantage of the American workers, it's kind of crazy because you're helping them do it. Like literally helping them do it.
I would welcome meetings with Democrats and Republicans. Healthcare should be a bipartisan effort. I actually have met with all the Democratic governors that I can get my arms around as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill's effort to change rural healthcare. As you know, putting $50 billion into that program. I'm out there talking to Democratic leaders all the time. What I don't want folks to walk away from this interaction believing is the Democratic Party actually has a strategy when it comes to the fraud, waste, and abuse in Obamacare. They don't. And their desire to just insist on putting...
No, they don't. I mean, they don't even want to fix the affordability crisis of it. They just want to keep on throwing billions of dollars into it, just hoping that it gets better eventually. But it has not shown no sign of getting better, but they keep funding it with no reforms. And then when we ask about reforms, the argument is, well, what about the Republicans? Do Republicans have a plan? Can y'all show some leadership and come up with a plan before them? I mean, what's the point of people voting you in if you're just going to push responsibility to the Republicans?
More money into it, or they're going to shut the government down, is a woefully misinformed approach. Fix the underlying problems of the system and we'll have enough money to go around.
Well,
if you don't deal with that dam, it's going to break.
I don't think anybody meets you and thinks, oh, that rando doctor. Unqualified Dr. Oz.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall in that meeting with you and Hakeem Jeffries. UPenn versus NYU. That'll be a matchup.
We're done. I'm on.
Always great to have you, Dr. Oz. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc. Good to see you again.
Okay.
Bless you.
All right, now let's get over to this nice little funny clip. Let's have a bit of comedic relief. Shout out to this Asian homie.
Black people, why are you Christians? White people, your oppressors have forced you into their cult.
Christianity arrived in Africa within the 1st century. What? But the slaves and forcing them to be Christian. Not saying that didn't happen, but Mark the disciple brought Christianity into Alexandria, Egypt. And then by the 4th century, Ethiopia declared Christianity its state religion. The transatlantic slave trade didn't happen until the 17th century.
Okay, yeah, but it's still the white people's cult.
Okay, so Africans have been worshiping Christ way before Europeans, and Christianity started in Israel. You know that, right? It's important to me that you know that. Well, white people still shoved it down their slaves' throats. Okay, you're not hearing me. White people didn't give black people Christianity. They already had it. They just tried to twist the narrative, and you're letting the enemy get to you. They'll trick you, fool you. Well, that same Christianity was used to validate slavery. And look, when you spread lies like this, you're doing the same thing that the slave owners did, taking things out of context to back their own hypocrisy because they desperately want their viewpoint to be true.
Yep. Hey, man, don't use those slave master tactics, man. Try to avoid it, Dems. But all right, let's get back to it.
Into the news, though, we want to tell you about our friends over at IQ Bar because they.
Whoops, I thought I was able to get past this part, but I did not. All right, guys, let's make sure to double tap that screen and like the video. And let's get into these updates on Jeffrey Epstein.
Intelligence being actively buried by the Trump administration. Almost all of the mainstream media doesn't want you to talk about this at all. They're not covering it. And alternative media is almost entirely not covering these connections. Why is this one part of the story just being left aside? It's a good question because the silence is deafening. Well, stunning new revelations are coming to light showing just how deep those ties were between Israeli intelligence and Jeffrey Epstein. Perhaps that's why we haven't received the Epstein files, because it would embarrass a foreign adversary. Almost no one in alternative media is doing actual journalism to get to the bottom of it. However, our next guest is Murtaza Hussain from Dropsite News, along with his journalism partner Ryan Grimm, have just dropped a few bombshells over the past few days, but the most recent one dropped today on Jeffrey Epstein's ties to foreign intelligence. Once again, here's the headline. Israeli spy stayed for weeks at a time with Jeffrey Epstein in Manhattan. Their latest article shows just how top Israeli spy stays with Epstein at his New York.
But Epstein had no connection to Mossad. Like, if you say that, you're an anti-Semite. I mean, but then you guys admit it. I mean, so yeah, it is what it is. Israeli spy stayed for weeks at a time with Jeffrey Epstein in Manhattan. I mean, they was cool. He was kicking it with the Mossad.
City apartment for weeks at a time.
That happens.
And that's just the beginning of it. Murtaza is joining us today to talk all about that in the latest revelations that you guys have been digging into. Welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Clayton and Natalie. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. So it's just kind of a normal occurrence, I guess, for Israeli spies to be staying at your house for weeks at a time.
Right.
When's the last time an Israeli spy stayed at your house for weeks at a time?
I got one in the bathroom right now, actually. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for discussing this issue on the show. And as you said, there is like a blackout on the subject. And, our reporting, as you mentioned, we've done a couple stories on this subject in the past few weeks. It's not based on any private information that's not already out there. There's the House Oversight Committee disclosures. There's documents about Epstein that was released as part of a lawsuit between JP Morgan and the U.S. Virgin Islands over allegations that they helped facilitate the sex trafficking. And finally, there's several caches of leaked emails, which are on the internet on a website called the Distributed Denial of Secrets, which is like a successor to WikiLeaks in a way, which show you Epstein's contacts with senior Israeli officials. It's kind of all out there, but people have not been discussing this angle of the story. And, we've been digging into it at Dropsite, spending time going through the publicly released documents as well as the hacked documents. And there's a lot there. It's interesting because some of the reporting that has been done, it's kind of like nothing burger reporting. They've reported like, this happened, we already knew this, and then they treat that as the story. That's a term that people may be familiar with.
Oh, and shout out to Devilish Fish for sending in a power potion for 500 joules. Appreciate the support, my man.
My opinion, it's called a limited hangout.
Limited hangout. Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking that's a limited hangout. You just give us this little drop of news and you say, no, that's already been reported. That's not really news. So shut up about it.
Exactly. So, we've been reporting it very in depth, and we're following the story where it goes. And it does show tremendous contacts of Epstein with not just Israeli intelligence, but also Russian intelligence and U.S. intelligence as well, too. But it seems like he worked very closely with the Israelis. And I think that issue may be why it's too sensitive, or people don't like to discuss it, or they don't want to invest resources in covering it, because it's a very politically sensitive issue in the United States. And, it steps on a lot of people's toes. But we're a small organization and we're professionals, so we're able to cover it and we're interested in covering it. And I can say there's a lot there.
And so your reporting shows that this person was connected to then Israeli Minister of Defense Ehud Barak, who comes up often in Epstein's life story. So that it's not unusual, right? Can you just maybe give us a reminder of his connection to Israel? And as Tucker Carlson says many times, just what is the likelihood that someone without training, like Jeffrey Epstein, without really ties, without a family connection, without any panache in his life before this, has all of these high-level connections?
So that's a really important point you raised, because if you look at these emails, it's fascinating because obviously it shows the relationship between Barak, the former Israeli prime minister and defense minister, and Epstein. But it's not like Epstein is looking up to Barak or trying to get his attention. It's really vice versa. The power dynamic is all really on Epstein's side in these conversations. And Epstein is effectively helping Barak while he's defense minister and after he leaves his role as Israeli defense minister in 2013, helping him make money, helping him make contacts all around the world, and kind of using him as a tool of promoting Israeli intelligence-linked surveillance technology firms to foreign countries. And in doing so, Barak made a lot of money, but Epstein himself didn't seem to be interested in making money. And he had more contacts with people around the world, high-level government officials in Central Asia and Europe and Africa and Russia and Israel and the US, more connections than anyone I think can ever organically have, if that makes sense. He was very, very connected. He was making introductions for Barak and others all over the world, the high-level business people in the US as well, too. He was at the center of all of it. He was like a fixer for very powerful people. And like I said, people often ask the question, and I heard this circulating long before our reporting, did Epstein work for the Mossad or something like that? I think the answer is no. I don't think he did work for the Mossad. It was more like the Mossad was beneath him in some hierarchy that he was under. I don't have the full picture of it. I don't think anyone does yet. It's still something evolving as information comes out. Hopefully the Epstein files from the Trump administration will eventually come out. But, clearly from looking at the emails, it's not that he's taking orders from Barak or anyone like that. If anything, it's almost vice versa.
Interesting. In your reporting, I think maybe the story that I thought was totally buried is this Alex Acosta, the U.S. prosecutor story that came out in October. So I think this got buried. I didn't hear about any reporting on this really at all, which is what he then said in this interview, because it's been widely reported that Alex Acosta said, that Epstein was intelligence. That's why we didn't go further or harder with more of a prosecution angle on Jeffrey Epstein because he was intelligence. Basically, I was told to back off. And now he's like refuting that.
All right, guys, I do go ahead and got to call it a night on this one, man. I do appreciate the support, guys. We're going to go ahead and close it out on this note. I do appreciate y'all for tuning in. So we're going to go ahead and end on with some funny clips, guys. Appreciate the support, man. It's the Set with Set Media. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Think shit sweet till I send out the guys, and I said it before and it ain't the last time. You think you gonna take these jobs, I'll send you back over that wall and make you climb. Come through trim, deporting your father, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your mama. Just sent 300 National Guards to the rack. Donald Trump went, this is Sparta. We catching their ass outside and sending their ass back home. And I got shot with that fire. How I survived? Man, that shit unknown. Government won't even answer the phone. He said that I'm doing the shit that he won't. Why are they talking about switches on guns like we not the ones that gave it a go? Tell you something you don't know. Chicago fucked up cause the government slow. Murder rate never was low. Everybody killing cause everybody is broke. And why is everybody broke? Because the immigrants taking the jobs you won't. Send them back over the wall, take notes. I send them back on a plane, a boat. I don't want them in the country no more. I don't want no one looking for work at the store. Why the fuck is they making the city look bad? Why the fuck is they rhyme around waving that flag? I got so sick of this shit and I'm mad. I called Joe Biden that night and I bragged. They deep in the street, then you know it's DT. Free Larry Hoover, I'm really GD. And I hop in the back of a black truck. Camouflage bulletproof vest and you cannot attack us. Stupid little boy better back up. I get the snapping and turn the whole city to back up. Ain't no more New Mexico, I rename. They don't know we about to use Chicago for training. I put 300 guys in the streets in this place. We making America great, it's amazing. Think shit sweet till I send out the guys, and I said it before and it ain't the last time. You think you gonna take these jobs, I'll send you back over that wall and make you climb. Come through trim, deporting your father, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your mama. Just sent 300 National Guards to the rack. Donald Trump went, this is Sparta. We catching their ass outside and sending their ass back home. And I got shot with that fire. How I survived? Man, that shit unknown. Government won't even answer the phone. He said that I'm doing the shit that he won't. Why are they talking about switches on guns like we not the ones that gave it a